All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back. How's everybody doing? I hope everybody's having a fantastic week. The week has started out a little bit slow as we have a massive news print this week, and we got some more next week in CPI. But tomorrow we will have the FOMC, where we will more than likely get a rate cut decision. The market is right now pricing in a rate cut of potentially 25 basis points, and the market, where as far as Bitcoin and risk markets, seem to just be kind of trading a little bit sideways. We did have a slight gap up on the VIX, and it does make sense that we did gap up on the VIX this week, because last week we actually made a fresh few month low and closed a very important near-term gap. So here's the VIX. Top left of the monitor, you can see this little gap right here. We filled that Friday, and then to get a bounce here is to be expected. You can see risk markets kind of retesting the December VWAP right now. Tested it yesterday. That's basically where you are. You are currently testing the December open on risk markets. Bitcoin is also a little bit under or right at the December open. Actually, it's kind of, they're both kind of testing the monthly open together. So that's pretty cool. I would anticipate that this level would be resistance. I don't anticipate the market's doing a whole lot of movement the day before the news, but it is possible. Obviously, anything is possible. So right now, one thing that I'm currently looking at is Fartcoin. We kind of like it to the upside. It has broken down out of an ascending wedge here, and that is typically looked at for bearish breakdown potential. But you can see it hasn't really done anything in a lot of days here. So you got, basically you broke out here. We were looking for this to be a 3-drive topping formation coming into the end of last week, and then you went into Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and you ended up making like a 5-drive topping formation. And ultimately it did come in as resistance yesterday, but you really haven't broken down yet. So what we're watching here, waiting to see, is does Fartcoin end up putting in some sort of a bear trap, and does it bounce? So we are going to be looking for potential bullish entries around this swing low right here, if it can hold that area of support. If you think that it is going to bounce already when the market opens here in 20 minutes, then you would be watching this lowest near-term swing low right there, and that would be the point at which you could mitigate your risk. The thing is the bears have not been able to break it down for multiple days here, so it kind of looks to me like it wants to break out to the upside. Now, obviously, I can't predict what it's going to do. We can only get a bias and then take a position based on that bias and manage our risks. It's literally our job as traders. So Fartcoin is one that we're currently watching today for a potential bullish entry. I haven't really went into depth on it yet. ZEC is another one that we're looking at for a potential bearish entry. The reason that we're looking for shorts on ZEC is because XMR, which is the leader of that sector, if you will, is kind of rolling over here. But you can see that you're working on last week's liquidation right here. So you will essentially take out last week's low, while ZEC is currently, or has already, I should say, taken out last week's high. So we do have kind of like a divergent here on the two, XMR and ZEC. XMR is the leader, ZEC is the second. Now, these assets do not trade technically as good as, like, say, Bitcoin or Fartcoin or whatever, because XMR is not traded on a public exchange like Coinbase and Binance, such as everything else. So these things are very difficult to trade, and generally speaking, I kind of want to leave them alone. But I find it very curious, to say the least, that last week, if you look at the entirety of ZEC's range, it took all 7 days to put in that high and this low, whereas we've already smoked that previous week's high in 2 days. So it's kind of weird to me. Yesterday was an actually like a really big bullish day, We were watching it to see if it would do that yesterday during the live stream, and it didn't. And we were actually looking for it to pull back once it did do that. We weren't looking for like a short to put on for like a massive downside continuation move. We were just looking to put on a short to scalp it down a little bit for a retracement, as it had already moved more than one standard deviation, and that deviation is coming from the 14-day trailing move. Like, so it's here, let me show you. It's the average true range, so it's only looking back 14 days. So that gives you basically about what it can do as far as inside of a day range. So yesterday it was like a $72 move is what the average is, and yesterday we were already up like $80. So it's not like a massive move, but it was definitely on the edge of what would be expected under normal market conditions. You can see here that you're testing the 50 on the daily time frame on the RSI. We want to see if this area acts as resistance. It may not happen today. It could happen tomorrow, right? It could trade sideways all day today up near the highs, or even make fresh highs. But this is definitely something that I want to watch going into tomorrow. As far as I know, I have to meet with my lawyers in the morning, and then after that, I think it will be, I think I should be home in time to catch the meeting, hopefully, as that's the way I planned it. So if all goes well, I will do the live stream when Powell does his speech tomorrow instead of doing one in the morning. So we'll see how that plays out. But as of right now, these are the setups that I'm currently looking at for potential trading opportunities today. So you're also testing the 21 exponential moving average as delineated by this orange line. So that's another area of potential resistance. But if this is legit buying, as far as what volume is confirming, or at least looking like right now, this is bullish. You are trading above the December VWAP. You are trading above this current week's volume weighted average price as well. So right now, everything looks bullish, and it looks like it may want to continue to the upside. So basically what I want to see is if this is going to be the top, I would love for that high to already be in this morning. And when the New York session finally opens, when you get the bell, I would love to see a deep drop, or at least a retracement back to the day open, as that would be a decent spot to take profits on this asset as it moves quite a lot. All right, so that's one. And then, like I said, if Fartcoin is looking to be bullish, we want to look for potential bullish opportunities. And that can either come in here or down here at this swing low. So those are the two areas that I would be looking potentially at to take a long. And of course, the long on Fartcoin is only going to work if Bitcoin and Ethereum are both bullish today as well. You can see Bitcoin hasn't really done anything this week. Yesterday was a little bit of a trending candle as you did take out Sunday's high. Sunday closed as a nice bullish candle, closing above Saturday's high. You can see that you are currently testing the December open, which is the monthly open, and the December VWAP. But as of the weekly, you are currently under the VWAP. So it looks like you're in a little bit of price discovery here. The week started with a down move, so it makes sense to look for the short. Also, seeing how you close this 4-hour candle above the daily 21 here, and then you had a rejection, it would make more sense to look for the short on Bitcoin than it would the long, as far as that goes, right? As far as like, if you're trading below this swing low right here, I would have to assume that the trade would be a short. You're under the 21 exponential. The markets are a little bit weak. You're pulling off a little bit on the VIX or on the S&P. So I'm not really loving the long on Fartcoin. It only works out if Bitcoin itself goes up. So that's currently what we're looking at, what we're watching here this morning. And we got a little bit of time to do that. As far as long-term charts on Bitcoin, it's not doing anything. We're trading inside of a multi-week range here. This range was set late, like it was the second half of November, the third week in November. You broke down, you set this low, you tested weekly support, you bounced from that area. It's basically, that's your range. That's the range you're stuck in. You've got the yearly opening range up here acting as near-term resistance, and the daily 21 exponential also acting like near-term resistance. So that's what's causing price to struggle here. What I honestly believe is happening is currently you can see how the TLT, which is it's the inverse of the 20-year yields. So when the Fed is in a rate cutting monetary policy like they're in right now, bond yields should be going lower, that they are going up. Now, the Fed isn't going to get too worried, but we are a little bit concerned as we are trading under 2-month swing lows here. So if I pull up the monthly chart, you can see that in October we set a swing low, and in November for the entire month you traded inside October's candle. So basically what we have here is a current breakdown. We don't know if we're going to see downside continuation on this breakdown, and we don't assume that we will. We think this is a bear trap. That's what we think in this community, or at least what I think. That's my opinion. Obviously, we can't see into the future, so we don't know what will happen. But my opinion is this is just normal near-term volatility. It's currently breaking down. It's currently setting a trap. And then if you get a rate cut, a 25 basis point rate cut, I would assume TLT rallies. I would assume the bond yields, 30-year, 20-year, 10-year, all start to roll over and start trending back down. Now, if they don't, then that's going to basically say the market is telling the Fed that the Fed is doing the wrong thing, and the market thinks that the bond yield should be going higher. So that is concerning. If the bond market breaks down while the Fed's in a rate cutting environment, that could be bad for risk markets as a whole. And with Bitcoin's current price action, I mean, Bitcoin is usually a leader, not a laggard. If the markets are going to be bullish, Bitcoin is bullish. If they're going to be bearish, Bitcoin is bearish. So we've seen a little bit of displacement, like they're displaced from one another. Bitcoin is trading under its own, I guess, 4-year market cycle. That's pretty much the only reason. There is some bud going around that Jamie Dimon and a few other billionaires that are leaders in Wall Street are literally trying to suppress MicroStrategy stock. And since MicroStrategy owns so much Bitcoin, that's what's causing Bitcoin to roll over. I'm not saying that any of those aren't possible or even isn't what's happening. For us as traders, it really does not matter what the ultimate reason is why price action is doing what it's doing. It's up to us to look to put risk on at opportunistic times and for us to mitigate that risk. That is our job. That is our only job as a trader. It's not to predict what we think markets are going to do, right? Basically, it's just throwing darts, seeing what sticks, and then managing the unrealized gains or managing the unrealized risk. So that's currently what we got. That's currently what we're working with. Long term, we think Bitcoin will be okay as long as the bond market is okay. The bond market starts to collapse, or if the TLT starts to collapse even while the Fed is cutting interest rates, that could be pretty bad. But anyways, as far as trading in this range, it is consistent with what Bitcoin usually does. So basically what I mean by that is if you look at all the lows that we've put in for the last 3 years in hindsight, you'll see that those lows took a span of several weeks to basically be situated. And all I mean is you put this low in here and then you put in 2 lower lows after, but the amount of time that took place before, it bounced out of this area was many. 6 weeks to be exact. We're 4 weeks into this bottoming formation. We'll look at other charts and things as the time or as the day goes on to kind of see, why we haven't seen that exhaustion style break back to the upside yet. But as of right now, Bitcoin is basically just in price discovery right now. I mean, that's all it is. You're bouncing back and forth inside of a range, trying to figure who is going to win. Is it going to be supply or is it going to be demand? And ultimately, that takes time to figure out. But anyway, you can see how it took many weeks here before it bottomed and then bounced out of the area and started to trade back to the upside. Am I saying that's what Bitcoin's going to do? No. I'm saying it may be several weeks before this near-term range is resolved. Whether it gets resolved to the upside or to the downside doesn't really matter to me. I'm already protected. I already have puts on. I scalped out this most of this downside move on futures. I mean, we're making money on this move, so it doesn't matter. It can go up, it can go down, it can stay sideways for all I care. We'll make money either way. But you don't need to get like super concerned, or you don't need to be super bearish anticipating that you're just going to see week after week make fresh lows and fresh lower closes. Basically, it could be in this range for another few weeks. I think a lot will be resolved tomorrow. It might not be exactly on tomorrow, but I think tomorrow, if we get the rate cut, as long as everything goes normal, I would assume maybe Bitcoin comes down, sets another lower low, and then looks to bounce out of the area. If it continues to trade down, then the April low or the yearly low would be our target. We are getting late, or, you know, we're 9 days into this month, so it doesn't look like we're going, we haven't yet seen any kind of a hint as to what December or how December is going to finish. If it finishes like this, it would look a little bit worse, in my opinion. I would rather see December closing back up into this area, up in here, but we'll trade it, whatever. We'll take positions, whatever positions we need to take to capitalize on a trending move, regardless of which way that trend resolves. But anyways, going back into the bear market of 2022, I've seen a lot of people putting fractals out there with this move. So, I mean, if you're looking for something like that, I'm not saying that that won't happen. When we go into a new year, you'll get time. You'll have time, right? You probably won't see a trending move take place until next year, until you get full on into 2026. But if you are looking for something like this, then basically all you're going to do is wait for the low, a fresh low. Right there is when you got that fresh low. But when we put in this low, Bitcoin traded range bound for many weeks before it ultimately gave you a couple weeks of a bounce. So long time. It could take time here. All right, so there's no need to get in a rush to take a short low on the range. I think if you are looking for shorts, you would be best suited to look for those shorts around the monthly high or at weekly highs, and not under weekly opens. You know what I'm saying? But obviously, if it does break down and does everything opposite to what I think will happen, then being short from the monthly open would be a good place to be short from if you do in fact get a downside continuation move for the month of December. So you are kind of still, it's not the best opportunity for shorts, but it definitely could be an opportunity for shorts. As far as that short today, it might have already given that opportunity, or it might give you another opportunity later on. We'll see how it goes. All right. But yeah, a lot of resistance here. It's this downside breaking move is what you got from resistance. So that's why we would probably be more apt to look for the short up here if for the day trade, because generally you want to look for price to resolve the neutral range in the direction it was going before the range happened. Now, if you're looking at this as in terms of weekly ranges, then you've got a whole lot of nothing here. This is not a trending move. So it could literally resolve either direction. But we know what levels to watch for risk. So if you're looking for longs, look for longs down in this area. This is your monthly support as of right now, inside the month's range. You didn't put much time under here. So yeah, you've spent about the same amount of time above and under in this little bit of conglomerate here. It's not the greatest trade. It's not the greatest trading setup. That's why we're looking at either ZEC or XMR here. We think if ZEC rolls over, then XMR will more than likely break down. We think if XMR holds this level all day, then we probably don't want to be short ZEC. They're definitely trading completely opposite one another though, and they can trade opposite one another. If we look at it and compare the two, for instance, let's just pull up XMR here and then give it its own price scale. They kind of trade similar. I mean, ZEC really took off. XMR was a little bit late, but you can see how they do kind of trade a little bit similar. So we'll see what they do. We'll see what they do. Right now, my short that I'm holding or looking at, I'm currently holding is at last week's high. The problem that we had yesterday when we were looking at this and devising this plan with ZEC was this wick right here does not exist on the week's platform. I'm not sure if it exists on the futures platform or on Binance futures, but this is the spot market on Coinbase. So you can see today you have traded above that high. So basically I'm mitigating my risk from that high, just above the daily 21 exponential moving average. So if it refuses to be bearish today and it comes back up and makes a fresh day high, it's going to stop me out. It's as simple as that. If you're looking for fresh bearish entries, you've got 2 hourly candles here. You could look for entry at the open of either one of those 2 candles. I wouldn't press the short if it's trading above the day high. I wouldn't like be forcefully trying to continue to short it all day. I would take like a couple attempts at it at best. All right. And then another one that we're paying attention to is Luna C. Lune C. LUNC. When Luna collapsed, they brought this product out, but it's the same company, same people. You can see the asset is trading for like $0 essentially, but it got, coffee burps. It got really bullish last Friday and then had upside continuation on Saturday. We were scalping this on Saturday and we did pretty good on it. Yesterday we were watching the 4 hour right here. And basically what I told my members was simple. If you do not continue to break down below this support zone, I honestly think it's going to bounce. And that's exactly what it did. Now I was going to close that trade out yesterday, but I didn't. I already made a lot of money on this trade. I made almost $2,000 over the weekend. I have that position open here. You can see I have a realized P&L of $1,700, and currently the unrealized P&L is $82. But if I pull that up, you can see where my entry is. The first entry, we were actually scalping shorts when we put in the bearish divergence. So we went all the way up on the 4 hour RSI up into a 98, which is like damn near pinned for this indicator. So we were basically waiting for the divergence. So we started to see that divergence on this candle right here. So once this candle put in a fresh high, we started scalping shorts. We had to go deep into price deep into price action to basically see where the buyers were buying it up, and we were able to do that. So essentially what we were doing is we were shorting at the highs and taking profits as price dipped a little bit into a moving average. Once it dipped into that moving average, we were taking profits, moving our stop to break even, and then whenever it went up and made a fresh day high, it would obviously stop out that remainder of a position, but we would then just put on a new short and rinse repeat. And basically we did that all the way up until it finally set in that swing high. So the money that all of this money came from just that one short entry that ended up being put on here. We got a downside break. This 4 hour candle was the first 4 hour candle to make a fresh low. It took out this candle's low. So once that happened, I was okay with setting in the short for a longer time, obviously. And then I took profits on this candle here again, and basically just built the realized gains up to about $1,700, and then left the rest on and added to the position as it started to break down. And that brought my cost basis down to where it is now. Now, yesterday at the end of week, I had on like just about $50 worth of a margin that was still open on it. So this morning when it took out this previous 4-hour swing high, I entered with a new position, adding $100 to the trade, not assuming that it's going to break down because I thought it would bounce if it did not put in a continuation candle after this one. This was the trap. We identified this candle as the trap before this candle even opened. Our game plan was simple. If this is going to be a trap, you could simply buy the close of this candle, and in theory, you should be fine. And that's what's going on. So there might be some trade talkers in the community that put that long on. I would probably take profits up in here because it is, as of right now, retesting oversold again. You did put in a bearish divergent pattern on the 4-hour. I don't think you have any bearish divergence on the daily yet. So this support could absolutely hold, and then you could absolutely put in that daily bearish divergence. You know what I mean? In order to put that bearish daily divergence in, you would need to make or close a higher daily close, higher than whatever this day closed at. So you can see right now, you're kind of working on that divergence. So this short is most likely going to get stopped out. You do not need to put in a fresh higher high to make bearish divergence. You just need a higher close than this close, because that's how this indicator works. It prints based on the close, not the higher highs. So you don't need a fresh higher high to make divergence. You just need a higher close and you have bearish divergence. Maybe then, after that happens, maybe then start looking to reshort this again. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, it is garbage. There is no real bullish news on this asset. I looked all over the internet over the weekend. There is no legitimate bullish news. It's literally just speculation that I could find. No burns, no nothing. It just popped. It got a lot of volume started trading on it when it started breaking out, and that's essentially what carried it. So no bullish catalysts. If it does put in that bearish divergence today, I most likely would be looking for the short tomorrow if you breach whatever high you put in today and then fail at that high. So I'm telling you all this so that way you can watch this thing today. You don't necessarily need to put a short on it today. You could simply wait until if you're trading above daily res, let me put it to you like that. If you're trading above daily res, which is right here, 6282, if you're trading above that at all today, then don't put the short on, because it's threatening, just simply by trading above this white line, it's threatening a fresh higher high. There's no point in trying to short it if it's threatening a fresh higher high. We want to short things that are looking like, or at least losing that bullish momentum, so that way we can set in the short while it makes fresh daily lower lows, right? So don't put on the short if you're trading above that white line. Allow tomorrow to open and then wait for the run above today's high, as that would be a good area to look to put the short on tomorrow. Now, if it falls back under this and spends a lot of time today trading under this, well, then you could probably go ahead and put on that other short, as the bullish momentum has waned at that point. But then, of course, the only other position I have open right now is ZEC, and I'm just looking for a small pullback to where I can get my $300 out of the market. Once that happens, I do not care what the asset does. We did get the bell. We're 6 minutes past the bell here. So let's go look at Fartcoin, what it's doing real quick. It is starting to bounce here. Yeah, it does look like it's trying to put in a little bit of a double bottom. I do think that it will be highly dependent on what Bitcoin does. Let's look at dominance. Dominance is kind of neutral. So neutral dominance is okay for Fartcoin bullishness, What we don't want to see for Farcoin bullishness is a super strong dominance. All right. As you had a weak dominance yesterday and Farcoin couldn't break down, that's why we have kind of a bullish bias on Farcoin. When you have a weak dominance like that, like this, we would expect not the asset to be bullish, but it should be able to break down if Bitcoin's breaking down or at least trading lower. Farcoin hasn't really been doing anything. So if dominance stays relatively neutral today and Bitcoin is up, I would expect Farcoin to spike. So be looking for that. Make sure your stops are situated somewhere, right? Under one of these wicks or potentially low of day. This is going to be low of day right there. And we'll see what happens. We'll see if it can find support or at least hold it. And then XMR is bouncing kind of hard here. So if XMR does find support, which it has been trending lower, it is currently trending lower. You just took out last week's low. Maybe watch the open to see if it can hold support. It would be easy enough to watch. If this hourly doesn't take out the previous hour's high, it would not be bullish. So basically, if it starts to fall back down here without making a higher high first, then I wouldn't be wanting to put that position on. 366.06 is that high. You can see this high is lower at 365.97. So if you make a higher high, then maybe you could look to put on a long on XMR if it comes back and retests hourly support. Because ZEC is very bullish. And if XMR starts to get bullish, I don't think ZEC is going to roll over, is what I'm trying to say. I think both of these assets need to be weak in order for, a good short trade to work out. I do love the way the cumulative volume delta looks on this for the breakdown. If it stops going lower and then gets back to positive, I would not like that very much. And if we look at ZEC, you can see how the deltas here are positive. Since this candle broke out, made a higher close, I don't expect it's going to be a trap because this delta also put in a higher move. So volume is kind of confirming this bullish move here. So people are probably going to be looking to be dip buyers all morning on this. It will only be if it comes down pretty significantly and puts in another move down into the below neutral spot on volume that I would be or feel safer about holding the short. These things, once again, when they get trending, they will run you over for many days in a row. So they're kind of difficult assets to trade. So maybe don't trade them if you aren't the best at managing risk. Maybe leave it alone. But I need to go ahead and put on a take profit on the ZEC trade. So let's go ahead and do that. First, I'm going to have to get rid of that stop. That's one annoying feature. Oh, we're on ZEC now. That is one thing that I wish Weeks would fix. I don't like trying to do a partial without having that stop out there. But I'm up 52%. So I'm just going to put it on 100% and then see what would happen if I scale out 2/3 of the position. That would be 67%. I can see that would be well over my $300 daily target goal. So let's go down to 90. Nope. 90. 412. So we can probably drop to 70. 321. That would be good. And then I'll set this at 4 with 100% of the position size. That would be close to a $30 loss, and I'm comfortable taking that. So I like that. Let's go ahead and feed it on through. So you can see I don't need a ginormous move here in order to make my $300, and then I'll get scaled out of the position with 2/3 of the position size, and then I can leave the 1/3 position size open for any potential downside continuation. Basically, at that point, I would be trading risk less. Well, it's not completely void of risk. Obviously, I'm risking the unrealized P&L, but unrealized P&L is not something that you ever look at. We don't really care about the unrealized stuff. It's realized gains that matter to us. So yeah, we want to realize those gains as quickly as possible because we are betting with a lot of leverage, and leverage is a very much double-edged sword. We're on the daily here. I would love to see this act as resistance. At least give me the pullback that I want. I'd be happy with that. Let's go into the 4 hour and make sure that we're still above this 4 hours open. We are. Okay, so right now you've pulled back to about the midpoint. If you don't make a fresh 4 hour low, like if this candle closes, how long do we got? It's 11 when the candle closes. So we got an hour and 17 minutes. So in an hour and 17 minutes, if we haven't made a fresh low yet, then I will start to feel more and more like this trade will not work out. But my take profit is above the open, so that's good, because in my experience, when assets are extremely bullish like this has been, usually you won't get below that. You won't get below that. Those are typically kind of decent orders or entry points if you are looking for a continuation. So you can see this 4 hour candle has gotten lower, but it's just an inside candle compared to the last breakout candle on this one. So this one, you're safe holding longs on it as long as you're trading above 60.80, or if you don't take this out. So once again, if this 4 hour candle was to retrace all the way down to here in an hour, I would not be looking to put on fresh longs. As long as it stays above the midpoint, I think it's probably going higher. There's not a whole lot of stuff. There was literally nothing yesterday. So I did a live stream yesterday. We did nothing. There was no trades. We took a couple trades. I took one on Pingu that did not work out. Took one on Bonk that did not work out. It's like nothing worked out yesterday. So yesterday was a losing day. Pretty much done. There wasn't anything to do. When assets are very range bound like this, it makes it difficult to put on good risk because it's essentially a 50-50 shot. Right now, Bonk looks okay for upside continuation. It's into resistance, so I definitely wouldn't want to be buying it here. So Farcoin coming back for a retest of this area right here, right now, that would probably be about as good of an entry as you're going to get. And then use that low as your risk. I'll take that trade with you. We are trading with real money on the Weeks platform. It's just a small amount. We trade with a couple $1,000. And I just basically show you that it is possible to lose $100 a day or make $300 a day. So yeah, very small amount of money. It's not about how much money. If I wanted to, obviously we could trade with thousands of dollars. But it's not about the money, it's about the process. I just want to show you that you can consistently, day in and day out, perform decently if only mitigating risk. It has nothing to do with my ability to predict market direction. But I obviously coming into the week having already made $2,000 gave me a slight buffer. I mean, it's all good. So don't force any of these trades if you don't feel comfortable with them. If something I'm looking at doesn't sit right with you, then obviously don't put the risk on. Only put the risk on if you're comfortable with taking the loss. That's how this works. So let me go ahead and pull Farcoin up as the other two just kind of chill. I can't do anything more to them. ZEC is pulling back a little bit here, but remember, we needed to get down to about in this area, or I needed to get down in there, and then I will have made my $300 on the day and everything will be good. XMR still kind of deciding on what it wants to do here, and then Farcoin will be the long, and the long would be right here. So for some reason, it pulled up farm, not farm. I want fart. And we're already, if we look at Fartcoin on the 4-hour and the RSI, we've already broken under the 50 here, so it does not look good for a long. Also, volume delta also basically saying this is not really a long. I will just let you know that. So there are no real good setups. I can look at a chart within 5 seconds, tell if it's something that I want to trade or not, or if it's a good setup or not. And even when you have good A+ setups, they don't always work out, right? Nothing works in trading all the time. But none of these setups are good setups. None of them are. I'm literally forcing the trade just so that way I can say we traded, essentially. I mean, so I'm going to open the long on Fartcoin with a very tight stop here. Very tight stop. As I think Bitcoin's going to have to bounce for the Fartcoin trade to work. But I do believe with this structure, if Fartcoin were to hold support and start to trend back to the upside, you're probably going to see a significant breakout above because of how much time it has spent building in this range. So, I mean, this trend line has been moved multiple times already. The first time we were watching the trend, it was looking like that. Then the second time, obviously it looks like this, and now it looks like this. So clearly it's trying to break down. I don't use trend lines. Trend lines are too subjective for me. I don't mind. You can use them all you like, right? But for me, they don't really tell me much. They don't tell me anything objectively speaking. So I use the VWAP. That is my trend line in a sense. A moving average also can be a trend line in a sense. If the price is consistently finding support at the VWAP, then I want to look for bullish trades. If it's breaking down under both weekly and monthly VWAPs, then I probably want to have more of a bearish bias. It has been holding support. We just don't know if it will today, right? That's the whole thing to trading. We never know what's going to work. We just have to throw and see what sticks. For now, we'll throw it at Fartcoin. I honestly don't think the breakout would be today. So obviously, I'm not looking for a move up to 42 or anything like that. I would probably just look for a move up into here. I think that would be sufficient to make $300. So that would be giving us what? Yeah, I mean, you're going to have an 8% move, basically just to make a fresh 4-hour swing high. Right there's the 4-hour swing high, 7.48%. That would definitely, with 20x leverage in the right size position, that would definitely give you $300. So in a sense, we're just looking for it to get back up into this area. Then we can take profits, move our stop. Then if it breaks out tomorrow or the next day, we'll be in it and positioned nicely for it. If it doesn't, we'll get stopped out. And we'll look to move on. We'll be fine. We'll survive. Hopefully everybody's having a good week. Oh, sorry about that. Let me get that other chart back up. Good morning, Wes. Good morning, pants check. No pants. Wes didn't say that, but I was heading him off. Good morning, Oxum, Janet, Tony the Fish, Bravo, Dream Tanks. Bitcoin on the monthly Heikin-Ashi candle is red. I don't look at Heikin-Ashi. It might be. Heikin-Ashi follows the trend. The trend is definitely down. We look at objective. I don't know how long you've been watching or if you've been watching for very long, but we look at price objectively. We don't look at it subjectively. Objectively, you are negative on the year. You are under the yearly opening, thus making you down on the year. Yes, your yearly trend on Bitcoin is down. Your near-term trend on Bitcoin is down. You were in a objective 5-month range up here on highs. November broke down. So yes, on the monthly, you are red. You are also trending lower. If you look at weeklies, you are in a weekly range here. So this week, last week, and the week before that, you are not trending. But long term, yes, you are trending lower. You are trading under both weekly and daily 21 exponential moving averages. In order for that to happen, you have to be down. In a bullish trend, usually people be buying the 50 weekly. That's usually where support comes in. On bullish trends, we broke down under the 50 exponential moving average on the weekly time frame. So I agree with your Heikinashi. It is in a downtrend, correct. The last couple weeks have not been trending, but I would be looking for that trend to continue. The trend is your friend. That's why we are kind of more bearishly biased here, not bullish. I'm talking about for people that want to buy long-term holds, right? Long-term guys, the people that are just looking to accumulate Bitcoin because they want to hold Bitcoin, for multiple years. Because Bitcoin, if you look at from its entire life history, right? Go back in time all the way to now, Bitcoin on average is printing 30% annual gains. So if you, in theory, buy Bitcoin and hold it for 5 years, you should be up multiples of percents, in theory, right? So it usually trends up. But as of right now, here and now, on the near term, it is putting in, it is down. It's not putting in freshly lows yet on the year. You haven't made a fresh yearly low. That's down here. But yep. I would advise looking for shorts if I was an advisor. I am not. But you should definitely have some kind of downside protection on. Whether that is a put on IBIT or BIBT, or if you're shorting futures. However, I would at least advise you, if you hold Bitcoin long in cold storage, you should absolutely be holding some kind of insurance right now. We don't know what's going to go on, and with what's going on the broader markets, it's not that great. Not that great. Whenever the bond market does the opposite of what the Fed is doing, we don't want to freak out. We don't want to lose our heads. We want to acknowledge that the bond market is doing something different. But we also have to acknowledge that with near-term volatility, that is to be expected. So there is a point at which we would no longer, like if you were to take out this 85 level on the TLT, and that's after the Fed does a cut, then obviously the bond market is no longer, it's not just near-term volatility. At that point, it's literally telling the Fed they're doing something wrong. So what we thought is the TLT is most likely going to bounce out of this area. That's what we're anticipating. I didn't take a position on that yet. If we would have bought it yesterday when it did get to about, this is a gap. So that low yesterday was about midpoint of the gap. And that is where the market found support yesterday. Now, whether that holds or not in the future is yet to be seen. But you are in a pretty good area to look to start putting on bullish risk here. I would stop, obviously, if you're making fresh daily lows. I would stop holding longs because obviously at that point longs would not be working. So XMR still has not put in, or did it? 366.21, it did. It did put in a fresh hourly high. So now, if XMR is going to be bullish, then I would expect it to hold support here. 4 minutes until the close. It's not looking great, but I mean, it's trending down. It's trending down. It's trending lower. So we would much rather be shorts. We were short last week, I think. I can't tell you exactly. I know where we took the short, and I don't remember if that was during the public stream or if that was during a private stream. But I want to say, I want to say it was either here. I think it was right here. I think it was a private stream. Yeah, it was these 3 wicks right here. This is what we were watching. We were watching 405. We were anticipating the breakdown. Yeah, it was right here. It was on a Friday, so it was a private stream. But we shorted it right there at 405-ish. And it has been trending lower since, so that was a good trade. And just because, even if XMR breaks down, it does not mean ZEC has to follow. There's a lot of ZEC bulls out there. Lots of them. And a lot of XMR bulls out there. So this could just be a near-term pullback in an otherwise bullish market. I'm pretty sure, I know ZEC is trading above the weekly 21. Yeah, XMR is too. XMR is trading well above the 50. As long as you're trading above this, then objectively you're bullish. I mean, you got a long way to go. I don't know if you would be on the year. Yeah, it does look like you would be on the year. I usually have the year term range delineated by a yellow line. Yeah, you are trending up hard. These things just recently started to pull back. But remember, these things do not trade like regular markets because they are not traded on regular market exchanges. So yeah, clearly your trend is up here on this one. Currently testing the weekly open here, but we knew that was happening. I don't necessarily want to buy this, but to hedge off my ZEC short only risk, I wouldn't mind it. The problem is which one gets stopped, or they both could get stopped, as ZEC could continue to make fresh day highs and XMR could continue to make fresh day lows. But that's where I would have been looking for the entry. Upon retesting of that hourly open, it's just a lot of bearish momentum coming into that level. So I guess we could offset some of the risk by doing that. Let me pull up XMR. I might have to finagle some stuff here. Looks like LUNC is rolling back over. That's pretty good for me. I kind of hope that continues. And then where did XMR go? We're right here. So XMR currently has not made a fresh weekly low on weeks. So maybe that might need to happen first. The low on weeks is 360.58 and 360.65 today. So you are currently putting in bullish divergence on XMR. You can see here that this candle, if it closes under this candle, that would be your bearish divergence. I mean, sorry, your bullish divergence. But I don't really care about bullish divergence on a 4-hour. Most of the time I like to look for divergence to happen on the higher time frames, daily and weekly, as that gives enough traders time to spot it and then decide whether or not they want to jump on it or not. So it'd be easy enough to mitigate risk in this area if you wanted to take a long here, but obviously you've seen the weekly, you are pulling back. This week just opened, and today is Tuesday, so there is a potential that ends up being the weekly high. Sunday, right there is the open for this week. And then, so that's going to be your high. Yeah. ZEC is bouncing. Still bouncing here, working on a bounce. I would love to see it fail right in this area. But like I said, this delta here looks more bullish than bearish. Okay, so you liquidated that high. If it continues to push up above that, then I'm not going to feel comfortable in the short. I can put on about equally the size position that I have on ZEC on XMR to hedge that off. And then hopefully one or the other works out, right? XMR bouncing pretty significantly here. And I did not get filled on the XMR trade. Very extensive bounce. All right. These things are extremely volatile, so please make sure you're mitigating your risk if you're trading either ZEC or XMR. They are extremely volatile. They can move a lot rather quickly. And then Fartcoin is just kind of chilling. So you can see how it's bounced off of the level, starting to head back in the right direction, at least for the near term. That's a good look for us for now. Obviously, the sellers are going to try to hamper that. 4-hour support could be a good area to try to get entry on XMR if you're trying to hedge off that risk. Stop's going to be low. Try to make that stop less than a full-size entry, just in case it continues. Because we don't know what's going to happen here. I don't care that it pushed up that much. If it continues to trade under this low, I will be more than okay holding that short. I'm going to put on a little bit of risk on XMR here while it's testing 4-hour support. If I get filled. I would rather this trade work out than the XMR one. It just seems funny to me that this thing moved up so aggressively in the first 2 days of the week. And it's also funny to me that it moved up it's not even the first 2 days. It's literally 1 day, 1.5 days. You've liquidated last week's high. So that just seems funny to me. But if it wants to continue to be bullish, then it can. I don't want to chase XMR, but it's making getting a fill difficult. So I would want to see this start to rotate lower, put in like that bearish engulfing look. Nice look on Bitcoin. Yeah, I would expect risk to bounce based on the year open on the VIX. So if this can hold as resistance, then clearly we want to see a bounce. Like I said, you're testing the monthly open. Those are typically good areas to look for longs if you have a bullish bias. And since the VIX was so aggressive and then it came off so hard, I would expect it to kind of roll over. But, I mean, that's just typically what the VIX does. It doesn't mean it will, though. But everything looks okay for this and hopefully this Fartcoin long. We'll see. We'll see. Bonk already pushing up, making a fresh day high. And Pingu already making a fresh day high. So Fartcoin's got some work to do to make a fresh day high. And then Farcoin's got a lot of work to take out yesterday's high. So we're not anticipating that. And remember, all we need Farcoin to do is just get up in this area here and we'll be able to take profits. But that's a long ways to go. We'll see if it can or not. And XMR is bouncing and I did not get filled. So the ZEC trade is probably going to get stopped. I cannot chase XMR. I cannot chase it. This was my entry. That's where my limit order was. I did not get filled. I put it on too late. Yeah, so hopefully Farcoin works out because it doesn't look like ZEC's gonna. If XMR finds support here, I don't think XMR will roll or ZEC will roll over. Sorry, I'm getting my words mixed up here. I mean, XMR looks okay ultimately for downside continuation, but it's already had a pretty extensive move lower this month. But I mean, this was the reason why we took the short in here. So we were very choppy in here. But this was a pretty good indication of what we were going to do, because essentially all we were doing was looking at December's price action. So the very beginning of December, we had a move lower and set the monthly low. Then we bounced and set in a fresh lower low. Then we bounced hard, went into this period of consolidation, chopping back and forth above and below the volume weighted average price, but then slowly started to lose resistance here and then started to roll. We don't really have anything that solid, like that easy on Farcoin or anything else. If we only look at December's data here on Farcoin, it's kind of the same. Initially, we have the December open, a deep push. We set a monthly low. Then we immediately trade up and set a monthly high. And then you get continuation. And then you hold support, support, support. My problem is the more times you test support, the less likely that is to work. Give me 1 second. I have to take this. All right, I'm back. Sorry, I had to take that. But yeah, what I was saying is we had the expansion of December's range to the upside, then we went into the consolidation. So it makes more sense to me that the consolidation would break to the upside if the trend is going to continue, of course, similar to what we saw on XMR. But sometimes that just doesn't work out. That just isn't, price is so chaotic because you have millions of people making different decisions based on different information. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I still like the structure more to the upside than I do to the downside, given what we've done already here in December. It's just this week is a little bit weak. And it's just Tuesday morning of this week. So tomorrow is going to be very important, I would say, for the weekly trend. If I had to take a guess, I would say a lot of the trend resolved will be from tomorrow. on a lot of different assets. Morning, says Paper Wiggleman. Good morning, Archimedes. Good morning, Kingdom Raven. And thoughts on Netflix for a weekly bounce play. Recent sell-off, sub 100. So Netflix sold off because they bought Warner Brothers, or at least they won the bid for Warner Brothers. That's pretty normal that would happen. Usually the company that gets bought out is the one that bounces, and the company doing the buying kind of has a pullback. So we'll go take a look at it real quick as we're just waiting to see what's going on. The split has occurred on Netflix. Yes, we know. Obviously, you're in the full-blown trend here on the month and everything. So you've topped out, you're pulling back. It's a pretty significant pullback. Let's see what... Ooh, Control Z. Sorry. If you ever delete an indicator, just hit Control Z. That'll bring that indicator right back. You can see that we have broken down and have closed multiple weeks under the 50 exponential. So you are trending here. And what's the first thing that would have to happen for me to be able to get bullish on this asset is it would have to stop making fresh lows first and foremost. It makes it impossible to buy if you're using stop losses, if it's continuing to put in fresh low after fresh low after fresh low. If that makes sense. And you clearly are doing that right now. So it's going to have to defend an area at some point. I don't know that necessarily it will defend that weekly low, but if it at some point stops putting in fresh lows and then can build in some kind of consolidation, either in between or just above 97.74, then I could potentially look to buy 97.74 only if it's holding as support for a few days. As of right now, you're in full-blown trending mode here. You know what I mean? If you're trying to buy it ahead of the FOMC, that is such a risky trade. Such a risky move. Because even though the market's pricing in a 25 basis point rate cut, we don't know what we're going to get. I honestly believe that your press conference you're going to have press members ask Powell, is he concerned that yields are breaking out to the upside even though they are cutting rates? And of course he's going to say, we're paying attention to it, but it hasn't broken out as an extensive point. It's definitely still within what we calculate as near-term volatility. Things to that nature. If they come out and do a freak 50-point basis cut, then obviously you're going to see a lot of things have a pretty significant bounce, probably. I'm not expecting a 50 basis point rate cut, neither is anybody else. I'm just saying, we don't know for sure what they're going to do. So taking positions before you get that meeting, little bit sketchy. Okay, so Fartcoin's selling off again. So even though it did get a nice little bounce, it couldn't hold it. Couldn't hold the bounce on a 15-minute closing basis, which is never a good sign. But Fartcoin's been doing a whole lot of this lately. Whole lot of nothing. Whole lot of chop, slop, sideways garbage. So many people has been stopped out on Fartcoin shorts the last several days. Hasn't even been funny. We were one of them. Like, we shorted it once we got the 3-drive topping formation. We shorted it here. And then obviously you can see that position was stopped out. So you do have what looks like a fresh breakdown here. And I'm not sure, but I don't think that daily 21 is in the right spot. Oh, it is. Nice. Okay, never mind. So, I mean, I still like it long as it's trading above the monthly VWAP. Even though it looks like it's topping out. It could be argued this is a topping formation, right? It's a pattern that when it plays out, people usually look for bearish breakdown potential. A rising wedge is usually looked at. but you haven't gotten the breakdown yet. You've tried to break down several times, but did not see continuation after the breakdown. And for me, that says a lot. But generally speaking, when I see a pattern, I want to see price resolved in one specific way. And if price resolves in that way in which it's supposed to, then I can look to position myself for trend continuation, if that makes sense. So when you do have a pattern building and you're not getting that breakdown continuation, then that's telling me maybe it's not trying to break down, maybe it's trying to break out. You know everybody's bearish on Fartcoin. If everybody's bearish on Bitcoin, they are absolutely bearish on Fartcoin. Fartcoin is a meme token. It has no utility. It's absolute garbage. It's a meme token. I love it. My community loves it because of the volatility it provides. It's a fantastic asset to build long-term growth because it offers movement and liquidity. So that's why we love it. It's purely for us just a speculation vehicle. It has no long-term meaning, no long-term growth potential. At some point, I do expect Fartcoin will probably go to zero. Brian's asking me if I'm still in the Japanese yen trade. The answer to that question is it depends on which one. I think I am. I haven't looked. It doesn't appear that I am. No. Japanese yen is not going down. It is going up. I mean, Aussie yen is going up. I got stopped out of it. It's not going down. And I'm not looking for fresh shorts on it. It's obviously going the opposite direction. We were looking for it, but it isn't working. And then the USD JPY, as long as you have dollar strength, or if yen is weaker, then this will also trend to the upside. There's plenty of time to get positioned for a massive bear market and looking for the yen to play out. They have to vote on that stimulus package over in Japan and all that stuff before it's already. And here, the 30-year yields on the JGBs are pulling back even. So the bearish trade just ain't there. That we don't try to force it. You know what I mean? If it's not there, we don't force it. We don't take it. The answer is no. I got stopped out yesterday on Aussie yen. Yesterday. Today is you're seeing upside continuation. That's a definite no short. USD Swissy looks like it's about to get stopped out. Like all of them are potentially about to get stopped out. The dollar isn't doing anything, and it won't until more than likely tomorrow. It's trying to hold support here at the weekly 21 exponential. But now the daily 21 exponential is acting as resistance. So the dollar's got a lot of work to do. It's still in a 6-month range. It needs to resolve out of this range to the upside or to the downside. We will position ourselves for the yen carry trade unwind only if it looks like it's going to happen. Right now it doesn't. I put it on, didn't work. No, the answer is no, not in it. Did Euro Yen break out? Probably, right? Yeah, it did. It looked like it was going to break out yesterday. It's breaking out today. Yeah, I would expect that to have continuation, man. There's nothing up here. You're literally at all-time highs on Euro Yen. Maybe not on every exchange, but on Forex.com's exchange, you are. Forex.com is a reputable broker in the US. I am not affiliated with them, but it seems like a lot of people are trading on some sketchy Forex exchanges out there. I would suggest that if you're going to trade Forex in the US, use a US regulated broker. It doesn't have to be forex.com, but make sure your broker is regulated, guys. Offshore forex exchanges are just as sketchy as offshore crypto exchanges. If they just shut the doors, you will not get your money back. But let's go look and see if FXCM has more data. So I guess it is an all-time highs on FXCM. But I don't remember Forex trading back in the 70s. So I'm not sure what this is. I don't think FXCM was even a company back then. Forex is relatively new, like 90s new, I think. Now, currency futures might have been trading back then, but not cross pairs like this. Pairs trading is generally FX. Forex is pairs trading. Currency futures trading has been going on for a long time. So I don't buy that this data is actually legit. But anyway, you're breaking out fresh highs here. Yeah, it's just, there's two different macro views on the yen right now. One macro view on the yen is investors are going to keep selling it off because they're basically inflating the currency to worthlessness. Makes sense, right? And then there's another view that if the bond yields continue to go up, then the carry trade unwind will happen based on the interest rate differential. That might not happen even if the interest rates get buckled up tightly. That does not mean people are going to be concerned for a carry trade unwind. So you can see the yield curves here, they are tightening, right? A lot tighter than they used to be. Because the US is cutting interest rates at the same time the BOJ is hiking interest rates. So these spreads are going to tighten. That's not enough to make the carry trade unwind. You would need to see yen strength for sure. You would need to see a repatriation. So the people in Japan own most of the US debt. So basically, if they sell US treasuries and then start buying BOJ treasuries, then that would inversely cause ours to go down as their currency goes up. There's a lot of things that have to play out for that perspective to happen. It's not happening. So we'll give it time. If it does happen, it would be very bad for the world. That's why it wasn't our go-to. But yeah, if it starts to smell a little weak, we will jump all over it. But right now, it's still holding firm. Still very, very weak. The Japanese yen is so weak. It's probably going to make fresh yearly lows. Right here's the yearly opening range on the yen. And then right there is your yearly low on the yen. So basically, the USD JPY chart is just the Japanese yen futures chart inverted. So if you hold Alt I, that'll give you the inverted chart. This right here is your Japanese yen yearly range. There's your yearly open. You set a yearly high in April. That's when the market's bottomed out. You've been trending down ever since. So right here's the yearly low. You're probably headed there. I don't know if you'll get there before end of year, but it looks like it's heading for that direction. If it holds support, or if you're looking at USD JPY, if the yearly opening range holds as resistance, then you can hold a short. But I wouldn't be expecting it. I wouldn't anticipate it. The trend is your friend. Right now, the trend is up. Very much up. And looking like it wants to continue to go up. All right, back over here to XMR as we're seeing what this thing's doing. It's like doing nothing. Very choppy, very sideways here. Same for ZEC. It's giving that outside continuation move. It's not looking good. We wanted to see it hold here. It didn't. And I'm not chasing up XM. I'm not going to chase XMR up here. If it comes back to here, I will try to get that position off, but it hasn't been back there in about 30 minutes. So probably going to miss the XMR long. Probably going to eat a stop on ZEC. Fartcoin still trying to hold support. Very sideways, very choppy. This is what it was yesterday. It's just usually before, like, this is a huge meeting. This has huge ramifications for the bond market. So a lot of people probably just standing by here today and yesterday, not making any rash decisions because they know the markets are going to do a whole lot of nothing until we get that rate decision. That rate decision is going to be huge. Going to be very important. It's going to have long-term bond market implications. There was a daily support test on the TLT. The problem with buying it today, for me, is tomorrow it could gap down on the open and trade down all day until the meeting. So I think it's best to wait until tomorrow and see what this does tomorrow. Does it gap up? Does it gap down? What does it do? What does it do? I don't want to buy it if it gaps down significantly lower. I want to buy it, though, before the meeting in anticipation of that rate cut. I think that might help give it a boost. Might not, but ultimately that's what I think will happen. Yeah, ZEC's pushing up. So it looks like it wants to go up. This is a pretty long-term consolidation. I usually don't want to see this if I'm anticipating the asset's going to roll over. This is not a rollover type of look. It might roll over later on today, but I'm not going to be trying to short it later on today. I gave it my shot. It didn't work. And I did not get filled on a take profit either. I just needed it to go a little bit lower, right down in here, and it would have filled me on a take profit. It's always fun. All right, we need to set a take profit on Fartcoin as well. Got a stop loss on it. Need to set a take profit. Let's go. It needs to go up quite a bit more. So obviously I didn't get positioned correctly again on Fartcoin. I do that for some reason. Me and Fartcoin have this like weird relationship. Yeah, no, I was right. If it gets up there into that 4-hour high. So basically, if it gets into this area right in here, my take profit will be hit. It's got to push up to 38.17. That's kind of a far piece from where it's trading right now. Bonk looks good. Bonk's actually giving you upside continuation on a fresh day high. Pingu not so good. Bitcoin, nice rally there. Dominance is still neutral. Ooh, if Bitcoin could be strong and dominance could be weak at the same time, Farcoin would explode higher. More than likely. It's not a given, but yeah, dominance could weaken here as Bitcoin strengthens. Farcoin might be able to get us filled. So I think I've been stopped out of ZEC. Not quite, not yet, but not very far. Loon C still kind of pushing down. This is kind of good. I'd say this is probably going to make a fresh high. Now there's your, that looks pretty good for a potential bounce. So what if ZEC trades up into this, or XMR trades up into this area and starts to fail? Puts in a little bit of consolidation like this, just above. In this area, I would be looking to sell that. Let me set an alert here. Yeah, I don't know if any of you were able to get filled on that, but I couldn't. I didn't. It didn't fill me. No bueno. How do you like PFE and D Pro Dragonfly or both finally show upward sloping weekly moving averages? Well, Dragonfly Pro, is that what it's called? D Pro is a drone company, Dragonfly Inc. Yeah, long term I like it, but I mean, in a war scenario, I think this company would probably rally. I like it as long as it's holding support above 595. I like it higher. Obviously the chart looks like dog snot, but this is like they just started winning contracts for the US government, right? This is what you want to see. You want to see a support build in like this. As long as it's holding weekly support, I could have a bullish bias on it and even buy some shares for long-term hold. Long-term hold. If no near-term wars break out, would be very good for humanity, but might not be so good for this asset. Remember, this is a drone company, and they are working at getting war drone like stuff, like contracts. So it's like it would be like buying. Yeah, I mean, you just got to pay attention to their contracts, what they're bidding on, what their aim is. Are they also working on private sector stuff? But yeah, I think there is huge potential upside for drone companies, manufacturers of drones and drone companies. I do. I honestly think it's probably the future. I think you're going to see like a lot of drone style taxis in cities in the future for people that would rather fly from the hospital to the airport instead of take a 30-minute cab ride. You know what I'm saying? If you can get the fees to where it's comparable to that of a 30-minute cab ride, people are going to rather go that route where they can get in like a 6-blade drone that'll pick them up at the roof of the hospital, drop them off at the airport, and then you get on an airplane and go home. I think there is a lot of use case for stuff like that. D-Pro doesn't do anything like that. As far as I'm aware, right? They are mostly right now working on like combatant style drones. The company that you want to invest in for like the private sector space is Joby. Joby is a company that is already manufacturing taxi style drones that you could one day see in big cities. But like I said, there's a lot of work that has to happen before that happens. In the future, though, it could. So there is potential. If you see an upward sloping 50 exponential on the weekly time frame, you want to be a buyer on pullbacks into that area with a stop loss. Yeah. I don't know about Dragonfly, though. Pfizer, it did really good, obviously, through the pandemic, but it has since been hammered. This is not an upward sloping weekly 21 or 50. It is literally downward sloping. I would much rather wait. I mean, could you buy it here and hope for the best? Obviously, that you can do with any investment. Buy it low, hope for the best. That's what every investment ends up becoming, really, if you boil it down. It's a gamble, right? Long-term bet. Long-term bet on success. I think this asset would look a lot better if it builds in a support and gives it enough time for the yellow moving average to get above the green one. Right now, this is still bearishly structured. Very bearish chart. Disgusting chart. Why did it have such a negative sell-off? It's Pfizer. It's a very volatile asset. It does really good in really bad times. It's like, it's a rotation play. That's what people mainly look at Pfizer for, not long-term growth. Mostly, yeah. Will it find support? It's trying to already. It's trying to build in support. Would I buy this here? Probably not. Would I buy it down here? Yeah, maybe. If it can hold support. Last week's low is a good place to mitigate risk from. Maybe a better place to mitigate risk from is from November's open. If it can hold support there, that would be a higher monthly low. A higher monthly low would look good on the long term. Might not look so good on the near term if it's down in this area. But longer term, as long as it doesn't push any deeper than that, it looks good for a long-term hold. Yeah, Pfizer's a drug company. Drug companies are volatile. I don't own any drug companies. I think if you want to participate in like the healthcare sector, I would probably just focus on healthcare in itself. Let's see what the four sectors are doing today. Let's do something here. That's an old alert. So let's pull up our sectors. Excuse me. We want XLK there. We want financials here. We'll take XLC there and XLY here. And then XLV is your healthcare sector. But these four sectors are your top four sectors. These four sectors control over 70% of the S&P 500. So if you remember, I put out a video last week saying that if the S&P gets up to November's high and rejects, I think it would be okay to hold a longer term like put play on insurance or whatever, or to look for your fills there. We did get up there. We did liquidate that price like I said I wanted to see. And that was the time to put on the risk, right? If you were going to put on that trade, that would have been the time to do it. Yesterday, we tested that level again and rejected again. And we did get a lower daily low, which was good. It would have been a lot better if this would have closed under. If you are bearish, right? If you have a bearish bias. I do not. I do not think the macro is good for a bear market. I stand firmly behind that. This bounced super hard through very thin liquidity. But in my opinion, once you reclaim that monthly VWAP, the market was telling you it's going higher. This is an accumulation and a push up. This is also an accumulation and probably going up. The Fed is supposed to cut rates tomorrow. That's why you're hanging out here. The market participants know that everybody's got their risk on here. They also know that above that swing high now, you're going to see a nice rally, potentially, or continuation to the upside. If you're going to roll over, this is where the defense, this is where the line in the sand is for now. But notice how markets are staying real close to this level. Real close. Like they're not going to give you that big downside break before the news. Most likely. But yeah, that's the like the level that I'm watching moving forward. If the S&P consistently trends under or trades under the 68.85, which is November's high, then I can hold a put. If you're trading above that price, I don't want to be holding puts. I definitely don't want to buy a 7,000 S&P though either, to be honest with you. If I'm going to buy for a risk on scenario, I think Bitcoin would be the better buy, or MicroStrategy. MicroStrategy is a 2x levered Bitcoin trade. Let's be honest. It is what it is. Did we just get a fresh alert? We did. So there's this fresh swing high on ZEC. Not good for shorts. ETH on the 4 hour is at resistance. ETH is breaking out right now. If ETH was going to roll over, I would have been anticipating that rollover happen from here. Way up here. This is a breakout. Yeah, you do have 4 hour resistance up here, but unless this is into like a monthly swing or a monthly open, and it's not. There are some weekly swings up there, but no monthlies. So yes, you are in what could be resistance. And also the 21 weekly exponential. Nope. Oh, what is this? Yeah, it looks really good. You're working on a daily breakout. I wouldn't be shorting ETH right there. Like I had a bullish bias coming into today based on this structure right here. This is bullish, not bearish. It could reject here though. But I think the better trade would have been to be a buyer on Ethereum this morning. There's that dominance breakdown. That's what we want to see for our Fartcoin longs. Look at Fartcoin or Bitcoin Go. Why isn't Fartcoin getting that yet? Guys, if Bitcoin and Ethereum break out hard today, Fartcoin could absolutely be an astonishing trade. But yeah, I mean, so if you're using my style of resistance, this is a 4-hour resistance, right? So what you want to do is you want to watch the higher time frame levels though, more than the near term time frame levels, because this is just an intraday level. It is a weekly swing high, right? That's Wednesday's high. That is a weekly swing high. But would you want to take a short when something has got this much bullish momentum going into the level? Or would you rather see a slow grind at the level and then a rejection, right? So be careful if you're taking shorts here. I'm not saying you won't make any money. I'm just saying be careful. Mitigate the risk. I think the best trade obviously would have been to buy where we were buyer. So like if you implement the exact same position that we took on Fartcoin, if you did that on Ethereum, the exact same position, you would have either been a buyer here at 30.95 or you would have been a buyer here at 30.93. That was the exact same trade that we took on Fartcoin. See? Exact same trade based on the fact that the monthly range is more bullish. It doesn't mean it'll work out. It puts you at a better opportunity. Like, I like the short on Fartcoin after we liquidated and dropped. But when it did it again, that told me no. Like, it's not breaking down. At best, it's range bound. And at that point, you need to buy lows, sell highs. Buy lows, sell highs until the range resolves. So Ethereum, yeah, trading into 4-hour resistance. But I would much rather want to take the short on the weekly swing high once you liquidate that. More so than just taking it blindly right here. As this just happened. This breakout is new. It just occurred just a little bit ago. Boom, boom, boom. So clearly the sellers here and here and here are what's causing this rally. Knowing that, I don't want to jump on the short. Yeah. Be careful. The ZEC's now giving you upside continuation, so leave that alone. Hopefully you were able to get filled on the XMR long instead, and then hopefully that gives you upside continuation. Now with XMR, it is still clearly weak, right? It is weak on the month. It is weak inside this week as well. So we don't have a bullish bias on this. We have a bearish bias on this, but ZEC has now broken out above our bearish bias. The ZEC has shown us it is now back to bullish on the month and currently bullish on the week. That's not what you want to short. You want to short weak ones. So if XMR can come up into here and then base out like this, and then start to falter, we're going to want to be looking for sells back into that range. Because we're still weak. If it gets up in here and does this, then we no longer have a bearish bias on it. Then we start looking for higher low support to buy. Let order flow be your guide. Let it dictate your positions, not your bias. Your bias is to look at an Ethereum daily chart and be like, holy shit, this thing is bearish. It was bearish, and we were sellers when it was bearish. Right now, you're not bearish. You're not bearish on the month. You're not bearish on the week. Order flow on the near term is not bearish. It could be now. Now that you've liquidated that weekly high, now we'll see if people come in here to sell this. I still wouldn't want to take the sell right here, right now. It could work, but I'm not taking that trade. You can, I'm not. Right now, Ethereum and Bitcoin both look really good to me. This is what we wanted to see. So Bitcoin is an easy long here, right? And here. Ignore the green line. Just look at the blue line. Like, I'm trying to teach you guys to take better opportunities, right? So that's all I'm doing. I know sometimes it gets a little bit annoying to hear me say the same things over and over again, but it's for the people who are trying to learn. The profitable traders, I'm not trying to help those guys. Those guys are the profitable traders are my competition. I'm trying to help you guys who can't seem to get it, right? Those people are the people I'm trying to help. If you look at Bitcoin here, and I don't care about any other data, none of this data matters to me. What matters to me right now, today is December the 9th, right? So I only care about December's price action. That is it. That is it. So in through here, we would be bearish. Right through here. See how you break out above the VWAP and post up, consolidate sideways, and then poof. This right here is bullish. And you only get back to have a bearish bias on Bitcoin if you get up in here and you post up and then you go boosh right back down. Then you have a bearish bias on any pullbacks. This is when you would be bearish. As long as you're holding support at or just under the VWAP, you have to have a bullish bias because order flow is bullish, not bearish. Now with Bitcoin, it was a little bit more difficult to get an analysis on today because it's bullish on the month. But if you look at only the weekly data, you were above the weekly VWAP here, but then you lost it. Then you retested it, and then you lost it again. So sellers were here and here. You see what I'm saying? Now, that was not a bad trade to take because that high was put in when? During the London session. So you could have absolutely been a seller here on Bitcoin this morning at 3:30 in the morning. And you would have potentially made a little bit of money as long as you took profits. All right. But when you're failing to break down, you have to go revert to like the long-term range. So it looks bearish because we're trading consistently under this green line here. But if we look back to December, it's still bullish overall on the month. So you need to be a buyer at support. Finding that support is where most people have is where the difficulty comes in. Identifying trend is simple because there are a million tools to look at. You just need to learn what is the proper way to identify a trend. That's what I'm here for. Trend analysis. I win more trades than, say, the next man, because the next man isn't analyzing price the same way I am. That you can, because I'm here 2 days every week. I go publicly live 2 days, and then I'm privately live every other day. I'm live every single day except Saturday. Every day. And every day we talk about this stuff. Same stuff over and over and over. It's a repeatable process. Repeatable process. We still haven't gotten filled on Fartcoin. So for whatever reason, Fartcoin is lagging. Although that was really close to filling us on that profit target. Really close. So here, I'll show you my exact entry, so this way there's nothing that can be said about it, right? A little bit hesitant on taking the long on Fartcoin, but the green line is my entry. Look where my entry is. Why did I buy it there? Well, because it was showing us an inability to trend under that level. That level was the 4-hour swing low. Now, you're not going to be successful if you take a sell at every 4-hour swing high or a long at every 4-hour swing low. There needs to be context there. There needs to be support. There needs to be something propping the price. What is propping the price here on Fartcoin? Monthly order flow. It's bullish. Weekly order flow is bearish. Hence, people are shorting it right here, right now. That's November's high. That's an objective price point. Fartcoin might fail here. Price action is too chaotic on an intraday basis. We can't predict what price will do. All we can do is predict where we are going to put entries on, where we're going to take profits. I should have taken profits right there. You can see how close it got. This is my take profit for me to get out with my 300 buckaroonies. It fell just short of my take profit. So now, to keep that from happening again, I will lower it, and hopefully this thing makes another fresh high. If it is going to roll over, hopefully I get one more push into there so I can take my money and run. I'll let everybody else fight over who's right and who's wrong on the interwebs. But I want to take my money and run. I want to get my pay and get away. That's what I want. So nobody knows right now. Monthly order flow is bullish, but weekly order flow is bearish. So sellers can still win here. You can't on Ethereum. You're way above weekly order flow now. But on Fartcoin, it could still be a legitimate trade. A trade idea and potentially a profitable trade. You can see how it's failing here. That's because people are selling it. I would be selling it too, but unfortunately it fell just short of my take profit. If it makes a fresh high, I will get filled and I will have made my money. Now, when that happens, when I get paid, I move my stop to break even. This way, if it does rip back down in my face, because I can't predict what happens out here, then I will have already been paid. Like just right now, I got paid. So I am a seller here, but after being a buyer here. Would I take this trade if I had not got long here on Fartcoin with you guys live this morning? Would I sell this? Not right now. Not with what Bitcoin's doing. Not with what risk markets is doing. Not with what Ethereum is doing. Not with what dominance is doing. Like, no, not me. My money has been made. So I got stopped out of ZEC. So of course I didn't make a full $300 today. But like I said, I'm coming into the week with having already made $2,000. So I'm okay. But now just take this and add it to that. And that's what I've done on this account. Minus 2 stop losses yesterday, $30 a pop. So 60 yesterday. And then minus what I lost today on ZEC. But we're definitely in the green. And this is all I try to do week after week after week after week. It's a beautiful thing. I work for myself. I'm in my own office. Life is good. Financially anyways. But yeah, focus on the things that make sense in trading, or at least focus on the things that you see consistently making money. Focus on those things, then implement them into your trading. You're still going to struggle. All new traders struggle because you look at, if you're, depending on how new you are, if you've been in this game for 5, 6, 7 years and you're still struggling, you need to call me, bro. You're doing something wrong. Like, especially if you've been listening to my voice for any amount of time. I consistently come on here and just jerk profits out of these markets like it's going out of style. Live. You know what I'm saying? So you see it when I get smoked and when I don't. You see how I analyze markets and then what I do. You can do that. Everybody can. Anybody and everybody can. If you can read a book, you can do what I'm doing. But yeah, so Farcoin might struggle here. It might not break out today. I said I'm expecting Farcoin to break out. That's only if it stays trading in this range, right? If it starts to break down and trend under 35 bucks, then of course I'm not looking for it to break out anymore. But looking at what price action we have here for this month, it definitely looks like it's trying to break out more than it looks like it's trying to break down. Just look at it on the weekly. I mean, for the last 3 weeks in a row, this thing has been grinding. Yes, it's put the brakes on here, but what does that mean if it keeps grinding? What do you think's most likely to happen? Right? Unless at some point the sellers win and get it back down into here. And in that scenario, I would be bearish again on Farcoin, not bullish. I trade month to month, week to week, day to day. The things are constantly changing in this, doing that. But ultimately, yeah, we're expecting this to be okay, right? And as long as this is okay, then we're not expecting risk to dump. We're not expecting Bitcoin to dump. Most likely, Bitcoin's probably going to close out the year somewhere in between 87K and 100K. Most likely. If I had to take a bet, like that's the bet I would take. I wouldn't sell premium up here. I would sell premium down here. They do the rate cut tomorrow, and the rate cut works, and then the TLT bounces. I think you see Bitcoin continue to rally. It might not rally far. Obviously, we're going to be watching where does it rally to, and when do those sellers show back up again, because we do literally want to put on more futures risk for a downside continuation move. You're testing the early open here today on Bitcoin. Okay, I'm moving my stop to break even on Farcoin. So if Farcoin does break out, we will get paid again. We'll take that money too. That's just going to be icing on the cake. This Luna C trade, see, it held the midpoint. Remember what I said? If it comes down here and closes, then I wouldn't be a buyer. Well, it didn't do that. Now people are trying to buy. They're looking at this as a higher low. So they're targeting day high. They're targeting my stop. This trade isn't a good short. Hopefully you guys didn't short this. I kind of suspected I was going to get stopped out of this. Made a lot of money on it already, but I think the real money will come later, like tomorrow or the next day. That is if it's going to roll over. That was a hell of a short squeeze. That was a beautiful support at weekly 21 exponential, and that's where it stopped going down. So literally, that's where I didn't put on a buy here because I was still holding the short. But I should have closed that trade out yesterday and put the bid on. In hindsight, that would have been the better thing to do. Try to buy things that are trending up. Try to buy things that are showing bullish continuation. Try to short things that are weak and showing weakness. Struggling to put in continuation higher moves. The euro as a currency was created in 1999. Yeah, I kind of figured that. Silver. Let's do it. I haven't looked at gold and silver in a while. Oh, can't change this chart. MicroStrategy. I bought MicroStrategy weeks ago when it got oversold on the weekly RSI. I started adding this to long-term hold. I got a near-term options trade on to 225. That's my target. If it gets up there, I'll close that trade. But I bought shares too, because I'm expecting multiple weeks of just choppy sideways to up. And then if we're going to seriously go into a bear market in 2026, then I'll close that trade out and maybe look to buy another weekly oversold test. But I don't think that's going to happen. We'll see, though. We'll see. I think people are using FOMO to make people sell all their Bitcoin. Silver, XAG. Probably looking a lot like gold. It's actually up nicely. Oh my God, silver doesn't look anything like gold. Silver is making fresh all-time highs. Or fresh yearly highs, I mean. It's all-time even. Yeah, there's the dinosaur. They're all-time highs. Silver, there's nothing to do. If you own it, congrats. Like, I own a lot of silver 1 ounce coins. I own some gold 1 ounce coins. So I love to see that. But as far as trading it, like a Forex pair or something, there's nothing to do here. You are continuation trending up. There's no way I'd be trying to short this. This long-term consolidation was a buy. It's a higher low. Higher low. Even if it's not making higher highs, those higher lows are hugely important. 3 weeks of pullback, you set the low, higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low, boom, boom. Now you're putting in bearish divergence. So I wouldn't be selling it or taking a fresh short on silver right now because it's printing bearish divergence. You got to wait for this week to close before this divergent signal. You had a divergent signal 2 weeks ago. So to be fair, if you would have been shorting it last week at the highs, you're stopped now. So everybody that tried to short silver last week, they're done. Anybody that tried shorting silver the week before, they're done. So it's not a short yet. It is not a short yet. This is a consolidation formation. You had another one here. Multiple weeks of sideways. You got to be very careful about shorting that. Central banks and people are buying gold and silver like it's going out of style. Gold hasn't broken out yet, has it? No, gold is not broken out yet. So if silver is breaking out, what do you think gold's about to do? I mean, it doesn't mean it will, but I would be a buyer on gold as low as 38.19. That's last quarter's low. Sorry, this quarter's low. So at least there, if it could even just pull back to there, if it could stop going down at that price, I would be a buyer. I don't think you'll get down there. I'm just saying I could. At that point, you would have a fresh lower weekly low, but still be in the context of a range, bullish range. You're still trading in a 3-month range. It's more bullish than bearish. Gold looks like this is a bull flag. And if you were looking at it as a pattern, it's an ascending wedge or a triangle. Triangles, like, especially triangles that are like normal, you know what I mean? They can break out either direction. But rising wedges, people are usually looking for that to break out bearish. You don't really have that here. You gotta be making like just insignificant highs to kind of get that wedge formation. This is a consolidation range. There are trades to make inside of these ranges though. Daily trades, like scalp trades. You're testing weekly res now. I would not want to be a seller there. I wouldn't want to be a seller anywhere on this chart. I think I would much rather be a buyer at the lows than a seller at the highs. All right, be careful. Silver is going. Farcoin's trying to go now. Much higher. So these sellers were wrong. Yeah, this is upside continuation. This ain't a short. Damn it, man. I wish I would have got that fill. All right, well, anyways, I can't catch them all. I tried, but I can't catch them all. So if this on the 30-minute starts to post up like this here, then maybe I'd sell there. Okay. Maybe. But that has to happen first. So this won't be a sell today, probably. It'll probably be tomorrow. I don't want to short it while it's consolidating on the first day of the breakout. I want to wait till the day 2. Let that volume build up here at least. You probably don't even have the volume building up. I mean, if ZEC is running, this thing is primed and probably heading up to here. So hopefully some of you got that fill, man. If you did, take profits. You've got the move you needed. Take profits right now. Go ahead and scale out. Move your stops to break even. And then that way, if you get an upside continuation move, you'll be nicely positioned. These things are crazy, man. There's like no end in sight for these things. These things are still supremely bullish. Last week was a nice pullback, but you've smoked last week's high on Zcash. And now it's like, where's it going? Today, if it closes above the daily 21, which is right here, that's going to be looking a lot more bullish than bearish. But we know traps exist. Oh, it could be building a bull trap here. I got my lines different color, but yellow's the 21. You can see if it closes like this today, maybe tomorrow's a trap. So wherever today's high ends up being, maybe that would be the area to watch tomorrow for the short, but you would only be taking it in anticipation that today's a trap. Like, this is bull crap. It ain't going to stay bullish. It's bullish on the month and it's bullish on the week. So it ain't bearish. You know what I mean? It definitely ain't bearish. That's a legit breakout. Nice 4-hour closure above resistance. Yeah, we're done with the shorts on that one. For a while, anyway. This one's about to stop me out. But I'm not going to lose any money on that trade. Made $2,000 on that trade, so I just won't be in it any longer. We'll let this one build in divergence, and then we'll take another look at it. But that bounce off of the 21 like that suggests to me that these buyers are legit and they're running it up again. You could literally see a measured move target up into this area on this thing. I wouldn't buy it right here, right now, today. The only place to buy this thing was on that wick low or this low here. And that would, you'd be taking profits right now for the day range expansion. But yeah, that trade's gone. It was a good one. Was a good one. Tesla. Yeah, Tesla also looking pretty damn strong. We looked at it yesterday, briefly. But, I mean, it's holding these highs. It's in a long-term consolidation pattern up here. You've been trading in this range for many weeks. Many weeks. So, resistance is up here. I don't know that I'd be looking for the short up there. I would definitely be taking profits if I bought it down here, up there. But if it fails, I mean, right now you're kind of testing two areas of resistance. Last month's open, and if you get into last month's high. It's what happens after it gets into those levels. That will be like the story moving forward on Tesla. It's obviously bullish this month. And it was bearish at the beginning of the week. Not so much anymore. Oop. So Tesla to me looks bullish. Moving forward, I would be looking to buy dips into 440 as long as that area holds a support. Damn it, I did it again. Let me see where this is. Yeah, I could be a buyer as low as 438. Moving forward on Tesla. I wouldn't do it today. I'm not buying it up here, but tomorrow's going to be really volatile for a lot of assets. So technical analysis does not really work in volatility. When you have volatility, generally your levels are not going to work as good. So it might be best to wait till next week to be whatever on Tesla. It's definitely bullish today. Yeah, I mean, it opened up strong and took off. Boom. That was that resistance test on the VIX. Resistance. We figured we'd get a bounce up to here. We got the bounce up to there. Now we're rejecting that price. So as long as you're trading under 1720 on the VIX, I would have a bullish bias on risk as a whole. And then I would, on your like individual assets, you'll have to zero in on where those entries would be, of course. But Long term, it looks really good. It looks like it's trying to break out. I mean, you're up at all-time highs on Tesla. As long as the markets continue to be bullish, which they are, I would have a bullish bias. RSP is the equal-weighted S&P 500. This is showing you that this, like, if you put an equal weighting across all S&P sectors, the market is strong as a whole. The broad market, it's strong. It's not weak. It's not bearish. People have a really negative sentiment out there. I think the markets are truly primed to have one hell of a rally because of how negative everybody's sentiment is. Like, if you look, okay, let's go do this real quick before we get too over our skis here. Crypto fear and greed, you're still in extreme fear on crypto. Fear on the stock market. Like, still, guys, still. Imagine the rally Bitcoin could have right now, since everybody is so bearish. Prices will go lower. Too much optimism on a dead cat bounce. It happened every cycle. Bearish. A lot of bullish people here, huh? Never mind. A lot more bullish people on this website. If you look at Twitter, or at least the people I follow on X, are super bearish. Everybody's bearish. This is the time to be a buyer. Like, when everybody's bearish, you want to accumulate. But anyways, so we're still very negative in sentiment. And then here's the Fed watch. Let's refresh it. But yesterday it was 86%. Today it's 89%. That's a hike. I mean, a cut. Sorry. More than likely, you're going to see a 25 basis point rate cut tomorrow. More than likely. Okay, so, and then if you look at long-term hodlers, this is bottomed out. So you stopped putting in fresh lows. This was like a capitulation style drop. And that was the last big drop that we got. When that happened, that was the last week where we put in that fresh November low, right? Because that's what we bounced off on Bitcoin, is the November low. If you look at the monthly, on December, you have not made a fresh low yet. So November's low is the current near-term low. So since that near-term low was put in, your long-term hodler supply stopped going down. So that kind of supports a sideways market. And then your short-term hodler supply also peaked massively on like a capitulation style. More open interest was liquidated on that spike than ever before. So, and that's just for short-term hodlers. I don't know if I can pull that chart up. I know somebody who has it. Let me see. Yeah, that's the guy right there. He does a lot of new on-chain stuff. And this is the chart right here.
My energy bill dropped from $150.
Skip. Theater mode. All right, good. Now, let me find that chart. Is this the wrong one? This is the wrong video. Okay. Right here. Okay. Here you go. Okay, so here is your short-term holder. Realized loss. Like, it spiked bigger than ever before. That's what we look for in terms of capitulation. Like a dead cat bounce or capitulation. we didn't really see that in Bitcoin in terms of price action, right? You didn't see that capitulation style drop and then that, rip your face off rally that usually happens after the capitulation drop. We didn't see that. So people see this as such a slow grinding garbage move that Bitcoin's just going to roll over. That's not the case at all. Like, we just didn't see the big bounce yet, which means it could be coming still. It might not ever come, but I'm just saying we did get a capitulation on this drop. The measured move, literally, if you look at these legs lower, you will get a perfect measured move. It looks like a more, like the sell-off wasn't epic. Like people weren't like fear selling. They weren't. They were just simply like it was the easiest short to get involved in as I've seen in a long time. Where is it? Right here. So I just put this measured move. That was from that Black Swan event where Trump said what he said, and it caused like an $8 billion liquidation in one day. Pingu dropped 80% that day. That's what that's from. Now this is cloned. I cloned this move and attached it to this high, that low. Cloned this line again and dropped it down to here. So you can see how this sell-off, though, felt brutal if you're holding long-term Bitcoin. To seasoned traders, this was the most like measured move, like the most perfect short to like take the short and take profits that I've seen in a long time. It was very like perfect. That's not what you see in a panic-induced fear state. A panic-induced fear state, you get like death-style drops, like one-day candles that are like 10, 12%. You get like multiple of those in a row, like bam, 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 like 3 huge down days. We never really got that until this last push. So from this high to here is that final measured move. So that those last 2 days, boom, boom, that was pretty much it. Like that was that capitulation. We saw the capitulation on the long-term hodler supply. We also saw it on the short-term realized loss. So we just didn't see it in price yet. So I said earlier last week, every drop, as long as this low is respected, every drop, in my opinion, is going to be a buying opportunity until you devastate this low with downside continuation. As long as this low is the near-term low, these dips are buying opportunities because we haven't seen the bounce yet. You have to liquidate the sellers also in order to, see that continuation trade. Everybody was so short through here, like it was an easy trade. Bitcoin has been an easy short since this high. This is when I signaled to my community to start looking for shorts. And I told you to short Friday's high. I told everybody, short Friday's high. If you get a liquidation and a rejection, you want to be looking to sell Friday's high. That was right here. And right there was that short trade. I said it on Saturday before Sunday. Short Friday's high. If Friday's high is respected, you want to be a seller there. So I don't know how high it's going to bounce, but I do know that the macro fundamental picture right now does not support a bear market. I don't know what caused all of this selling, and it really doesn't matter because when you're a trader, price is the arbiter of success. right? If you're a near-term trader, if you are a scalper or a swing trader, if you are taking delta positions, like positions that are structured for delta direction, if you are trading ups and down swings in the market, then price is the arbiter of your P&L. If you take a long and price continues to go down, you will lose money. Vice versa, if you take a short and it continues to go up. So price is king. Regardless of what the macro picture looks like, price is always king. It is for us. It should be for every directionally biased trader out there. So even if we have a more macro bullish look, there are a few small things that suggest we may be heading into a recession, like the yield curve inversions have both the 10-year, 2-year, and the 2-year, 3-month, and even the 10-year, 3-month. All three of those yield curves have been inverted, right? And all have always successfully called a recession. So here is the 2-year treasury yield versus the 3-month yield. This is a quicker inversionary chart to look at. This one isn't even in the positive territory yet. But generally speaking, when it does revert back to positivity, the US does go into a recession. That has been the case for like 100% of the time. So when it gets to positive, are we going to potentially go into a recession? Yeah, maybe, right? Maybe. But if we look at the same data points that the NBER looks at, which is the Bureau, the National Bureau of Economic, what is it? Whatever. Those guys are the ones that cause the recessions. It's not a recession until NBER says it's a recession. If you look at their 6 data points that they go by, you don't have them. You don't even have the main one yet, which is 2 negative quarters of GDP growth. You don't have all the data points to suggest we're going to see a recession. But that is out there, and a lot of people are a little bit worried about that. And I agree, it's there. The only thing that you have for Bitcoin is a 4-year cycle model. That's it. That's what caused a lot of this sell side pressure, probably. Or at least we saw long-term holders taking profits, didn't we? Yes. They've been taking profits for a very long time. Oh, the black line is Bitcoin price. The blue line is the long-term holder supply. So Bitcoin, long-term holders have literally been taking profits on Bitcoin since July of this year, 2025. That's when this thing started to top out and start to slope down. So that's why Bitcoin couldn't break out this year. Why were they doing that? Probably because of the 4-year cycle model. Because here's the thing. If you're holding a lot of profits and you know, like the 4-year cycle model has been accurate every 4 years in Bitcoin's entire history, it's probably a good idea to book some profits, especially if you've never booked profits. Selling Bitcoin at 110K? Yeah, sign me up. If I bought it at 3K? Yeah, I would too. I took profits in 2023. So I'm good on what I own now. But yeah, so maybe that's why they were selling, but they were selling. No doubt. That's why Bitcoin couldn't break out. Now that you've induced this panic dump, which wasn't fully uncontrollable panic, it was definitely a controlled, measured move sell-off. So now that you've induced a lot of FUD and all this, you have forced all the weak hands out of Bitcoin. Do you think the ETFs were not buying Bitcoin hand over fist while everybody else was selling hand over fist? Of course they were. Of course they are. The only thing that can really destroy Bitcoin right now and in the future is quantum computing. And we're still a good 10 years off from that. And people are right now working on making a quantum encryption that's impossible to break even with quantum computing right now. So if they do that, then I don't even think quantum computing will break Bitcoin. But with that being said, it is still a very risky asset. Very risky. But if you're in this game, period, if you're trying to buy and hold Bitcoin long term, you need to reshift your narrative to where you want to be a buyer and an accumulator on dips if you are buying Bitcoin. You could learn to trade, and that way you would never have to buy another Bitcoin again. If you can consistently trade profitably, you can accumulate Bitcoin by trading Bitcoin. It's an amazing thing. That's why we love the crypto market so much, because of all the utility and the way it just generates revenue. It's a fantastic asset class. You can trade Bitcoin and you never have to buy Bitcoin, and you can accumulate a massive amount of Bitcoin. You don't have to buy it. You don't have to buy it. You can convert your Tether winnings into Bitcoin, or you can just trade Bitcoin. The inverse swap contract. So many exchanges still offer that. If you're a fiat guy and you just want to make dollars because dollars make sense to you, you can still trade Bitcoin. You can trade Bitcoin and be successfully making new dollars. But I don't think Bitcoin is done. Like, it's not doomed. It's not over. I don't know that we're going to see a big rally. The year's almost over. Maybe we do in 2026, but 2020, there's still so much stuff that can happen in 2026. So we have to wait until we get to 2026. We have to see how the macro picture is going. But as of right now, the macro picture still supports a bullish narrative. Unfortunately, the market does feel a little bit top heavy. It does. It's got extended, to say the least. $100,000 Bitcoin. I remember starting this YouTube channel years ago. Bitcoin was trading for a lot cheaper. A lot cheaper. You know what I mean? We shorted this leg and that leg. We were short. So we saw Bitcoin. We were trading Bitcoin actively at 18 grand. At 100 grand, come on. That's extended. But it can go higher. I do honestly believe that those funds are buying Bitcoin. They just wanted to force people out of their ownership of Bitcoin. That gives more Bitcoin to be bought back up. I know you guys have seen the meme where the girl is selling eggs next to another dude selling eggs. His price is cheaper, so she lowers her price much lower. So he ends up buying all of her eggs. She has no more eggs to sell. That dude bought them all. Now he jacked his price up by triple. That's essentially what goes on in the markets year after year, month after month. I think we're probably going to see a big bounce on Bitcoin. I just don't know how far it goes and what the macro looks like going forward. But right now, I think your near-term lows are probably in. Your yearly low is probably in, considering that yearly low is all the way down there. 74,226. Bitcoin's having a good day. I need to keep my eye on MicroStrategy though, because I do have a trade. Oh, I'm way off. It needs to go much higher before I can even think about closing. That options trade, to be realistic, it's probably going to be expired. Or expire worthless, I should say. But yeah. Questions. Sniping Profits says Archimedes. Yep. Can you check IWM? Yep. IWM looks just like the RSP, the equal weighted S&P. There's no reason to be bearish on this chart. And IWM is the mid-cap sector. Mid-caps do really good in lower interest rate environments. So to be honest with you, like, I mean, anything could happen. If you see a sizable dump out of this area, maybe you might want to protect your whatever you're holding long that's in this sector. But right now it looks okay. Could it dump tomorrow? It could. We don't know what's going to happen. We think we know, or at least we know what should happen, but markets rarely ever do what they should do. Yeah. I don't know what you want to do with IWM. I mean, would I sell this? No, you just made fresh all-time highs today. So I wanted to be a seller on the S&P 500 if November's high got rejected with a vengeance. It didn't. So that trade is probably going to be no good moving forward. The markets have repriced right back to all-time highs. The ratios haven't said that we should be looking for continuation of highs, though. I haven't looked at it this week yet. Let's go look, see if they're doing better. The XLK versus XLP is doing better. This still struggling. Growth versus value is still struggling. And XLK versus energy still struggling. SPY versus defensive staples looks good. And energy versus SPY looks okay. Yeah, not a whole lot to do on IWM. If you want to short it because it just made fresh all-time highs, like if that's your reason for shorting it, I can't fault you for it. You know what I mean? It could work. I don't know. You did just make fresh all-time highs today. So where would I be a buyer? That would be a difficult decision. Because the market feels toppy to me. It feels a little bit overbought. It's not overbought on the monthly, not overbought on the weekly. It just feels a little top heavy, but that isn't really any reason to short. It's a reason to start hedging for downside volatility. Like I'm holding long puts on the SPX right now. I'm holding multiple contracts, but it's just a trade relative to the size of the portfolio. So if it expires worthless, that trade will be like a 4% loss. That trade is designed to basically come into parity if the S&P 500 loses 25%. So it would have to go into a bear market in order for that trade to protect me. If it doesn't go into a bear market, then that trade will expire worthless. And it will be a very small loss. But my long portfolio, the long only portfolio, will outperform that loss. Does that make sense? It's just a hedge. I'm not bearish. Like I'm not outright short everything until your drawers fall off type of. People love it when I get that bearish, but I ain't that bearish yet. I haven't seen anything to tell me to start looking. I am looking at data though. I am crunching data day by day. So if it starts to look more and more like we're definitely going to go into a recession next year, then we will definitely put on some bearish trades, I promise. But right now, that's just not the trade to make. It just ain't. Like Bitcoin's crushing the yearly open right now. Literally crushing it. You just made a fresh 3-week high on Bitcoin. Could it reject here? It could. I would hate to take that short, especially after seeing this much bullish momentum off from this move that was rejected. That's a pretty bearish candle. So everybody that was selling here today, like I said this morning, looking at this move, it would make most sense to be shorting Bitcoin. But if you're looking at this, it doesn't make sense to be shorting into support. So we decided to buy Fartcoin instead of shorting Bitcoin. It's a good trade. It's going pretty good right now. So the sellers here are wrong. I don't expect Fartcoin is going to have a massive breakout today. But it could by the end of this week or going into next week. If it's still bullishly structured, I would assume a breakout's coming. When Pingu got really bullish the other day, oh my gosh, look at it again, dude. That's another 11% rally on Pingu. Remember that Tuesday? Last Tuesday? That's a 30% rally. You got another 10% tacked on to it today. So Fartcoin's kind of lagging in that area. It's a good rally today, though. It's a 10% rally on the Fartster as well. And it's not done yet. Did XMR chill? Yeah, XMR has chilled. Oh, no, it hasn't. It's put in another upside. Man, that was such a terrible trade. ZC's broken out again to the upside. Yeah, these things look good. We're up nicely today. Really not a whole lot to do here. Just continue to make money. It's looking good. Knowledge to crisis hike up. I don't see any hiking coming, but we checked that GDP is supposed to be trending to 4%. Yeah, GDP's up. Bitcoin has to go up so it can be sold for the attack on Venezuela. Oh, goodness, Wes. I'm going to have to start looking at Wes's comments before I read them out loud. That's pure speculation. I do not condone anything that's happening in or around Venezuela. All right, moving on. So the four markets that control the S&P 500 all look good today. XLC's down a little bit. Why do I have to keep doing this over and over again? Save. They look good. Consumer discretionary up today. XLK Tech up today. Financials up today. I would love to see JP Morgan stock get hammered. I would absolutely love it. Just because of the stuff that's being said out there about him and what he's trying to do to strategy. But obviously investors like it. His stock is doing fantastic. Yeah. That sucks. I think it's just all FUD. I think people need a reason for like their favorite asset to be bearish, and when if they're bullish and the asset's bearish, I think they just have to dig up a reason. You know what I mean? Like to make themselves feel better about their investment, I guess. I'm a price action analyst. I only care what price is doing. I don't care why. I don't care if it's bullish. I don't care if it's bearish. I only want to trade the volatility so I can get paid. That's it. Nothing else. I'm not a macro analyst or a macro. I don't trade because of the macro. I take trades based on order flow and structure. And right now, things are looking pretty good. Anything else that you guys want me to look at? I haven't put on a stock trade in a while, and I know that sucks for Brian. Brian basically only trades stocks. And it's been a while. It's just been so easy to trade crypto lately. My focus has been on it. To be honest with you, there are a couple things that you could have... I mean, obviously, we're looking at the trade desk. It's still holding support. It's not giving us like that breakout that we want to see, but it is holding support. Now, I don't know if why this company suffered so bad this year. 2025 was a brutal year for the trade desk. If you look at their yearly chart, like you can see it was doing really good last year, and this year it just took an absolute dump. There's something happened here. So I don't know if that's been resolved yet or not. I don't know if this company's ever going to see that kind of growth again. But before that happened, before this year happened, this was a good growth stock. It did really good. If you bought dips, you did good. It did really good. So I don't know what caused the sell-off, but if support holds here, you don't even have to listen to my word for it. You can look at the analyst's rating on this asset. So here, this is an analyst rating that TradingView offers, and this is based on 42 analysts. Now, I don't know if those are buy-side analysts, sell-side analysts. I don't know who they are or what they do, right? But 22 of them say this is an absolute strong buy. That is over half. Over half of the analysts say this is a strong buy. You have 4 saying it's a buy. You have 11 saying it's a hold. So that doesn't mean go out and buy it now. It just means if you already own it, continue to hold it. And then the other 5, 1 says sell and 4 say it's a strong sell. Now, that doesn't mean the stock is going to go any direction. I'm just simply stating the facts of the case. Like if we were trying this thing in a courtroom right now, in the trading courtroom of the law, Judge Trade Talk says if 38.23 holds a support, you can own this stock. If you start trending lower means taking or making fresh daily lows and closing lower. And then you open a new day, and that new day makes a fresh day low and closes lower, and so on and so forth. That's what continuation or trending means. So if you fail to do that under 38.23, you can buy shares of this. Maybe set a stop loss down around $37. Make sure you're only risking what you can afford to lose if you do that. But you've been holding support here for the last 4 weeks. So if it continues to do that, it's probably just a matter of time before you see a nice little rally at least. I don't know how big the rally is going to be. I think if we break it down into weeklies, because that month is terrible, I think we could probably I bet we could hit $42 in the next 3 or 4 weeks. The trade desk. So let's pull that up. Let's go look at the option chain. Right, here's the option chain. So 3 to 4 weeks, we're talking at least 45 days, right? And we targeted what price? $40.90 or $41. Now you could buy a call, and then you could sell like a 44. That would be a $3 wide spread. That means you'd be risking $90 per contract to make $210. That's on one contract. So risk to reward is simple. If it doesn't get up to $41 in 45 days, you will lose $90. If it does, you will potentially make 150 per contract. So you can trade that with 1,000,000 contracts if you want. Trade size is up to you. But that's how I would structure this trade. Very easy to mitigate $90 worth of risk. We know when we don't want to be holding longs anymore, right? It's simple. If price is trending under 838.23, we want out. Oh, send it. I just sent it. Didn't get filled, but I sent it. And then that's about it. So if you have something that looks like it's a good buy, please let me know. I will look at it. I think United Healthcare is a buy, but not where it is. I like United Healthcare lower. I don't know that we're going to get lower. I see a clear 4-month support, which is 308.31. So basically what I would be able to do is I could be a buyer on UNH or United Healthcare if it liquidates that level and then gets back above the level. Like next month or this month, potentially. If it got down there and then failed to go lower, I could potentially put on a little bit of risk there. Buy shares or options. I don't know what the options are like. If they're liquid, I'm sure they're liquid, but they might be spready. Let me check real quick. I'll check 31 days out. They are a little bit spready. So 31 days out, they're literally $1 wide. Let me go 24 days out. 24 days out, they're not that, about 50 cents. Well, the calls are a little bit more than 50. So it's a little spready for my liking. O'Reilly's down again. O'Reilly's trading down into a potential support zone. And then I would love it again down here if it holds 90.18. If it doesn't, then we got something else to talk about. You might find support here on O'Reilly. O'Reilly is a damn good buy and hold on dips. This thing only goes left from bottom left to top right. This is a great looking chart long term. Obviously, you're trying to buy it on highs. So be careful trying to buy it on highs. But recently, for the last, I don't know, 5 years, this thing has only done little dips like that. So maybe don't buy 92, 98 like on the day that you're testing 92, 98. Maybe give it a few days. But if it fails to trend under that point, maybe you can buy a couple shares. That's O'Reilly. I don't know of anything else. ConocoPhillips or any energy stocks would be a buy only if there's going to be a recession. In a recession, you want to kind of be looking to invest in some kind of energy, but that's usually like if inflation is going to be involved. Inflation isn't high right now. It's low. It doesn't feel like it when you go to the grocery store, but that's different. I'm talking about the actual inflation rate, the CPI number. It's actually in good shape. So yeah, there's a couple stocks for the stock only traders. Oh, and I just saw a new Tom Lee. It wasn't an interview. What I saw, he was talking on stage, and the video wasn't old, but I don't know how long ago he was talking on stage, but he is a huge Ethereum fan. I mean, he thinks the lows on Ethereum are in. I would go as far as say he's probably right for at least this year. Next year's different, but at least this year he's probably right. Once again, don't be a buyer here, because you could immediately be setting in drawdown if you buy it here today. But it definitely was a buying op this morning. Maybe wait for another dip. These are dips. These are when you buy, right? When you have a period of a couple of days that are red. That's a pullback or a dip. We don't think the bond market's going to collapse here. We think the bond market's going to bottom out. We will know more next week, because we're going to get the rate decision tomorrow, and then we'll give it a day or two of trading to see how it susses itself out. All right. It's in price discovery. Let that discovery take place. If you rally above 88.65 and then see that rally continue, then I think Bitcoin's lows are in. I think the bond market is what's scaring people right now. Investors. I think they're looking at this. This is a breakout. Shit. This is a breakout. So you're breaking out here. And it shouldn't be. It should be going the other way. So this is an opportunity to be a seller. I think you should be a seller on bond yields. Or if you're buying bonds themselves, then you want to be a buyer pretty soon. But tomorrow is going to be important. Obviously, I got stopped out because it wanted to liquidate me first, I guess. But I am looking to buy bonds again. I could be wrong, and if I'm wrong, then Bitcoin's lows are probably not in. If the bond market crashes, guys, that's going to be bad probably for a lot of markets. We don't think it's going to crash. We think it's going to rally. And we think the Fed thinks it's going to rally. So we'll see tomorrow. Tomorrow's Wednesday. Tomorrow's the big day. So yeah, that's what I got to say about that. Speaking about Ethereum and Tom Lee, I got sidetracked. Sorry. Yeah, BMNR. So Bitmine is an Ethereum treasury company. So they don't make money. This stock, the company itself, doesn't, like, they're not like a super good investment or anything like that, but they are trying to be like MicroStrategy, only using Ethereum instead. Tom Lee has done a lot of digging into Ethereum, what it is as a blockchain, tokenization, all of that. He's done his homework and he thinks it's going higher. So I don't know if BMNR is a good buy at 39.19. Like I said, maybe at the open of today, it would have been a better opportunity. Or at support, it would have been a better opportunity. Support would have been any one of the last 4 weeks. Lows, clearly. You wouldn't have known when you took the buy that it was going to be the low. Like when I take a trade, I never know that it's going to work, ever. You just have to take the leap. You just got to mitigate your risk. If Ethereum continues to go up, I think BMNR will go up. Tom Lee does too. Now, I would rather buy Ethereum. If I had a bullish bias on Ethereum, I would rather buy and own Ethereum instead of buying BMNR, because I don't know anything about them as a company. I don't know who the CEO is. I don't know anything about them. MicroStrategy has a proven track rate at this point. Like, MicroStrategy as a company was going to be dead in 2020. It was sell a company, see what you can get, and sell it to whoever gives us the highest stock price. And let's just sell out and be done. That's how bad it was for Michael Saylor in 2020 for his company. So he shifted, as a good businessman does, and he became a Bitcoin treasury company. And now MicroStrategy is doing fine as a company. Will BMNR be able to do the same thing? We'll see. They're hitching their wagon to Ethereum's growth. So in theory, if Ethereum grows long-term capital gains, then BMNR should be okay. But I think it's just, I don't know. So that's my take on BMNR. Technically speaking, it's a nasty chart. I mean, this isn't anything I would ever want to own, ever. I want to buy and invest in companies that charts go from bottom left to top right on dips. This chart does the opposite of that. It goes from top left to bottom right, and it's still on the floor. Now, that's because of all the reverse splits that this ticker has done. So this ticker is probably not even the same company anymore. Whatever company did this, it's probably not the same company. If it is, then I would be a little bit concerned with that. That chart is disgusting, but they just started becoming an Ethereum treasury company. So their chart should look similar to Ethereum's chart moving forward. So when analyzing BMNR in the future, I would probably only analyze it from about there, when they became a treasury company. And then if you see consistent growth on Ethereum, you want to see consistent growth on BMNR. BIMNR. Yeah. That's about all I can do. Short it? No, I wouldn't short it. Absolutely not. Nope. Not today. Today it's bullish. We can analyze it. Well, it's not a short this week. Oop. My bad. It's not a short yet. It could become a short, but it definitely isn't one yet. There's no objective level to manage risk by here on the weekly. Nope. If it got up to here and failed, then yeah, potentially I could short it. And that would be only because it got up there and rejected. Then I could potentially take a short on it. Right here, there's nothing. You've got an old daily resistance here at 40.17, but that's just one day's close. I don't know how much resistance that will offer. You've got a couple moving averages up there that could also act as resistance on the daily time frame. On the weekly, you're also into potential resistance in 39.84. You could short maybe 40.23, only if it rejects there. But I don't like, you might get lucky tomorrow and the market may, like on the day that we get the rate cut, if we get a rate cut and Powell isn't super hawkish, then you might see the market sell off a little bit tomorrow. But I think it'll probably be bought back up Friday or going into Monday of next week. I think you will see support come in and you will see the markets continue to rally. If that happens, then obviously I wouldn't want to hold shorts on BMNR. But with that being said, there is a technical level there. Being an all weekly close, you do have a couple moving averages that could offer up resistance. Other than that, really not a lot. We can fib last month's range because it was a breakdown. You got the 786 up there. We already know there's a technical level up there. So sure, if it gets up here today and fails, you could attempt a short on it. But structure on the month is very bullish as you're making fresh monthly highs today. And structure on the weekly is very bullish as you are making fresh weekly highs today. So looking at this on the hourly, you can clearly see that dips were bought. They tried to sell it on December the 1st, that Monday. That Tuesday, they were wrong. And they have been wrong every day since. Except this day here, they made a little bit of money. But they had better taken profits on that day. Because if they didn't, they are stopped out now. And that's what you have to do if you are shorting a bull market. If you are selling into strength, you have to be quick to take profits. You have to. Because you're against the trend. You're against order flow. The better trade would be to buy support. And just hold it as long as you can. Obviously, I always take profits on upside trades as well, even if I'm buying into a bull market, simply because I'm more of a trader or a scalper than I am a long-term holder. If I'm buying something to put in the long-term holder account, then I'm not trading it at all. I buy it and I never look at it again. You know what I mean? It's going to be like that money most likely is going to be given to my kids, right? Let them fight over it. Divvy it up between them and yeah. So I don't like that stuff is I don't even worry about it. When I buy a company for a long-term hold, I just buy it and they can have it. That's the way I'm looking at it. I trade to pay my bills. And in that scenario, with bill pay money, I always take profits, whether I'm scalping upside or downside trades. Like exactly how I did on Fartcoin this morning, that's what I do. Structurally speaking, Fartcoin is sound for a long. Structurally speaking, it still looks okay as it hasn't even broken out yet, right? So if I'm anticipating a breakout, then why even sell it? Well, the reason is because I can't predict what will happen in the future. So in order for me to stay a consistent trader in the future, I must take profits. That's what my data tells me. There's just too much up and down movement in the markets to try to predict long-term growth, especially on something like Fartcoin. So, yeah. Quick in, quick out. And then if it continues up for the next 6 days, I'll take it. But I will be looking for another entry soon on it anyway, so most likely it'll get closed down or a new entry or a higher buy or whatever, right? That's how I approach it. So just be careful if you're looking for shorts on BMNR. I'm not saying you can't make money on a short. Obviously, I don't know if it's going to roll over today or tomorrow or not. But order flow within the month and within this week, it's not bearish. It's bullish. It could end up being bearish, but if you're trying to short it because you think it's going to be bearish, it's same thing, I guess. You're just throwing it up against the wall and seeing what sticks. Just mitigate your risk. No problem with that. I understand Tom Lee's position on Ethereum. He's drawing parallels in the digital space to the dollar's moment in 87, post Louvre Accord, when it became the dominator for equities. Yeah, I guess. I'm just telling you what he thinks. I'm indifferent. Like, I don't care if it goes up or down. I'm indifferent with Bitcoin as well. I would rather Bitcoin trend up because I own it. I do not own any Ethereum. Well, hang on a second. I gotta be careful about saying that because sometimes I don't own anything, and then I look at my crypto exchange wallet, and for some reason I do own stuff. Like, for instance, I don't own any of these assets that I currently own. But I own such little amounts of it that it doesn't matter. It's never going to accumulate into anything. So I do not own crypto. I mean, yeah, crypto. I only own Bitcoin. I don't own any Ethereum, Litecoin, Digicoin, anything, Fartcoin. I don't own any of that. I am only interested in the volatility it provides. Yeah. Ethereum becoming the backbone of liquidity in the digital space is a big bet. And apparently, if companies follow suit and start doing the same things and building, fundamentals on the blockchain, then obviously I think it could be huge in the future. It is a big bet. It's not one I'm willing to make a prediction on. I just don't know enough about it. I would rather own future earnings of good companies than I would a digital asset that's new, like less than 15 years old. To me, it just doesn't make, like, for the longest time, I couldn't make sense to even buy Bitcoin. Back early days, I knew about Bitcoin. Obviously, everybody did. Everybody knew about Bitcoin. It was a big thing. I remember Mt. Gox. I remember all that. I wasn't a Bitcoin investor back in those days. I was trading stocks and Forex, not Bitcoin. Forex mostly. Forex is my bread and butter. It was my bread and butter. Mostly nowadays, crypto is. Only because it provides a lot of volatility. I mean, Forex moves, but you gotta be super levered up because the asset class, like euro dollar's normal range is about 0.5% per day, right? That's about normal volatility inside of euro dollar. So you have to be levered up massively. Like euro dollar today has moved is down 0.07%. So even if you shorted the open on euro dollar, even if you had 50x leverage on, you've only gained 7 pips. So you've been sitting in this asset literally all day, right? And you're only good by 7 pips. Or a little bit more. No, 8.8 pips. It just, you have to be levered up. So you have to be a really good Forex trader to make any money trading Forex. You have to be able to get swing highs and swing lows really good. Otherwise, you're going to be stumped. So crypto, though, moves a lot more. So I can use less leverage. Fartcoin is literally up 10%. It's like a penny stock. You know what I mean? And that's why I love it. It's not up 10% now, but it's only up 6%, but it's moved from where we got long to where it is now, right? Because that's what matters. That's what matters. So if we look at Fartcoin, we bought it right here live this morning. So there's our entry. It's up 12% from where we took entry. If Forex did that, I wouldn't be trading with 50x leverage on Forex. But Forex doesn't do that. That's the difference. That's why crypto is so good. You can get between 5 and 10% moves on Farcoin, even on days when it's choppy and sideways. So you just have to be good at mitigating risk. If you can be good at mitigating risk, you can use Farcoin and trade Farcoin only every single day. I know that doesn't, like, I wouldn't buy it to own it for a long-term growth, but if I'm scalping intraday or intra-week gains and losses on it, it moves a lot. And you don't need a lot of leverage or a lot of money to make good returns on this product. It's hard to beat that. You know what I'm saying? You take someone like me that loves Forex, but has figured out that, oh my gosh, your edge, not only does it work in crypto, but it arguably works better in crypto than it does in Forex, then you're probably going to move too. Or at least you should. And that's another thing, right? Like Forex.com is pretty much it's not the most dominant broker, I don't think, in the US, but it's one of them. They do not give volumes. So why does that matter to a trader like me, someone who don't really focus on volume? I don't focus on volume by time. I do very much pay attention to intraday volume, price levels, and the volume weighted average. I absolutely do. But since their volume is proprietary, they do not, on Forex.com. Oanda did provide volumes, but somebody else bought Oanda, so now it's a whole different ballgame. Forex.com has turned into my main broker in Forex. I was thinking about moving because back when I started trading with Forex.com, their spreads were crappy and there was gaps and big wicks. Now that they're a regulated US exchange and broker, they're good. They don't have no more gaps and stuff, but they do not offer volume. So there goes my edge right there, a lot of it, in just trying to identify who is in charge of order flow for the month and week. I can't look at price and order flow and be like, well, the bulls are in control. So with Forex, it's just about watching objective levels and shoot, take aim, shoot, see what sticks. I think FXCM does. Yes, they do. So maybe chart on CX, or if you're a Forex trader, maybe. I haven't done any back testing on this, so just whatever comes out of my mouth next, please take it and use it with a grain of salt. Do some back testing, see if it works. Let me just go intra month here and intra week real quick, just so I can look and see if I can spot and identify opportunistic times. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I would have been absolutely interested in that. And that happened at 2 a.m., which is the London session open. So I would have absolutely been interested in fading that down move at the London session open, because the London session sometimes makes the lower high of day. So that's an edge to exploit right there. Put that in with the VWAP and boom shakalaka, Bob's your uncle. Now December just started, and as you can see, there are small trends that take place. Forex is a lot of chop. Forex, let me say this. Forex is awesome when it's trending. I do really good in Forex markets when it's trending. When it's choppy, I do not do good. And I mean, I do good enough to make a living, but you know what I mean? Like, and all you have to do is look here. Obviously, Forex, most of the majors, pound, euro, Aussie, CAD, and New Zealand and Swissy. Those are your majors. All of them. And Japan yen, if I missed yen. Yen, Swissy, the loonie, cable, euro, Aussie, and New Zealand. Those are your majors. They're all tied to the dollar. So needless to say, there was a big trending move on all your majors at the beginning of the year. I nailed it. I was long euro dollar at the beginning of this year. I was short euro dollar at the end of last year. So I nailed Q4 and Q1 back to back. Phenomenal trades. Beautiful trades. Since April, I have been getting chopped to pieces in Forex. Yep. Been getting chopped up because the dollar is in a 6-month range. So that's the problem with Forex right now. The dollar needs to resolve. It needs to resolve either above 100.25 or below, I would argue, 96.33. But if you can at least just take out October's low, we can work with that even. But what it's doing here the last 2 months, like, come on, bro. Do something already. Like that meme where that freaking dude is poking Bitcoin with a stick. Well, you could paste that right here, big and bold on the dollar. Let me see something real quick. I haven't tried it. I want to see if this works. It just came up in my head. Yeah. There's that. Oh, I can't get the link. Well, I guess I don't need the link. I could just do this. Hang on, bear with me. We're going to wrap it up soon. All right, there we go. Yeah, there we go. Boom. There you go. Now just post a little dollar bill on there and you're good to go, right? There ain't shit happening on the dollar right now. Nothing. Nothing at all. So there, if you go just, because those majors I talked about, if you go look at each one of these futures pairs, here is your Swiss franc. There's your monthly range. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months. You're in this freaking range. Here's the euro. There's your monthly range. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months. You're in this stupid range. You go look at pound. At least pound is somewhat trending. Very little. It hasn't been in the last 3 months, but it did break down from September. You did take out, August's open. So you had a trending month right there. You shorted here, you made money, you almost got stopped out, and then here's your continuation. And that's it. Like 2 months of expansion. The rest, chop, sideways garbage. So I can go on and on. Obviously, the yen is trending, and I've been on the wrong side of that trend, or at least trade, for the last couple weeks because I've been potentially preparing for yen strength. But I'm on the wrong side of that, clearly, because it's going down, not up. CAD, it's... New Zealand's been trending a little bit, and Aussie, it's trying to break out of a trending move now. So, yeah, until the dollar resolves, we're going to have a whole lot of nothing to do with those. And then as far as trading cross pairs like Euro Yen, fantastic trend there. But I rarely trade crosses. Swissy Yen. If you bought a Swiss franc months ago, you are rich. Pound Aussie. Nice little trend there. Aussie Yen. Huge trend there. So it's just the dollar pairings. I guess if we focused on these things, maybe we could do better. So maybe I'll start focusing on these. They're coming to the end of their trends, probably, though, some of them. I got so many old levels on these things that I haven't even checked them in the last several months. Yeah, there's probably trades to make on the crosses. I just haven't been focused on them that much. Good stuff, though. Why is the market pumping? Because it hasn't done anything in days. And it caught all the shorts off guard. That's why. I mean, that's my take. It isn't done anything. So you had a lot of short sellers should have been on guard, really. It's been making fresh up or like higher lows, higher low, higher low. Definitely a lot of shorts built up. People were so negative. Just a big short squeeze. People probably bought this morning in anticipation of a rate cut tomorrow. Like, there's a few reasons why. You could arguably say that the reason you're seeing a nice up move today. Fartcoin finding a bit of resistance here. Bonk has absolutely mooned. Damn it, why didn't we buy Bonk this morning? Because Bonk wasn't really giving us much to go on in terms of... You would have been hard pressed to get me to buy that on Bonk this morning. Because we went live at 9 a.m. 9 a.m. So we would have had to buy here or here. And it would have been a difficult buy there. There's no objective level here to buy. So not a trade we would have made. But to be honest, we made more on Fartcoin. Fartcoin moved from our entry to up 12%. So getting long Fartcoin was better than getting long Bonk. And Pingu's about the same as Fartcoin, up like 10%. So you just made a fresh week high on Pingu. Yeah. Same thing. That's about it. That's all I can say. I thought the recent statistic drop was funny. 84% of Forex accounts blow up versus 81% of crypto accounts. Yeah, there's not a lot of good. I mean, Forex is difficult, man. It's difficult. You better be good managing risk if you're going to try to be a professional Forex trader. Now, with that being said, people do it every day. I know, like, if you don't follow James Stanley, you should on X and pay attention to his videos. He's a real professional Forex trader. There are professionals out there that do make money trading. But he's definitely a good follow. James Stanley. He writes for Forex.com. He used to write for Daily FX. But then Daily FX quit. Like, they got out of the US or whatever, and he moved to them. But he also brought Michael Boutros with him, who is also, as far as I'm aware, a decent trader. He trades a very similar way to my style. He looks for objectivity in the markets. But he uses a lot of slope analysis. I don't trend lines and pitchforks and stuff like that. But if you're looking at objective levels and following what price is doing, objectively speaking, you're going to do just fine. Once you completely understand what markets do, how they work, and all that, you're going to be just fine. Trend analysis is the easiest analysis on the planet. The problem is most people trying to teach it are not even profitable traders. And that's where people get screwed up. They're following or listening to the wrong people. I did well with ADA Sol this morning. Solana and Cardano. I haven't looked at either one of them in a little bit. Let's go look at Solana real quick. There it is. It's doing pretty much the same thing Bitcoin and everything else is. It's, looking nasty long-term trending wise. You're under the yearly open as well, much deeper under the yearly open. So it looks rough. Didn't put in a fresh yearly low yet though. So that's consistent with Bitcoin. Very consistent with Bitcoin here. Looks good. You haven't made a fresh weekly high yet on Solana, but I would assume most cryptos have pumped today because it didn't do anything yesterday. A nice little rally today, looking good. And then your other one was Cardano. I don't even think I have that one on watch. So let me just pull it up like this. Yeah, it did really good too. This one has made a fresh weekly high. You're trading well above last week's high. It's going into the week of the breakdown. So mid-November into that open. So that one is doing very good this morning. We would not have been there. You would have been hard pressed to get me to buy this because that was already rallying 5% on the day. It's up 6%. Yeah, most cryptos have done good today. This one would have been a trade for us. It would have been a difficult trade to take, actually. We would have got stopped out on this one. We would have had a bearish bias on this one. So even though you're looking at price objectively speaking, you're still going to get stopped out, right? This one, but here's the thing. I would not have had a bullish bias on Fartcoin and then a bearish bias on Sol, if you will. I might have, if you would have brought Solana to my attention earlier on in the stream before we got positioned on Fartcoin, I probably would have had more of a bearish bias on this than a bullish bias, to be honest. Yeah. Yep. My concern would have simply been that it didn't get downside continuation here. Right? And all of this right in here was clearly a support. This, chopped off the bottom of the chart. So that wick low right there, essentially chopped off the bottom of the chart. And that would have been concerning for me looking for shorts. I don't think I wouldn't have been able to short it, right? Because it wasn't really giving a setup for the short when we went live. Hang on a minute. I'm looking at moving averages anyway. I'm so sorry. Yeah, those are moving averages. Give me a second here. I just assumed those were, and that was my fault. Yeah, I still would have had a bearish bias. Not as strongly as it was, though. I still would not have been able to take the short when we went live. I still would not have wanted to short it. I would have argued that if you were going to short this thing, you should have shorted it at yesterday's high. That's what I would have argued. Or actually today's high. That would have been the best place for the short, is what I would have argued. Yeah, I wouldn't have been able to put a short on down here. Not with having a bullish bias on Fartcoin and Bitcoin and everything else. So, yeah, fantastic rally. Everything looks good. All we can do now, guys, is just let the trades we're in collect more money as the day goes on. That's literally all you can do. There's nothing else to do. The best time to trade is passed long ago. You guys have a fantastic rest of your day. Make sure you guys trade safe. Make sure you trade smart. And as always, happy trading, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow.